What's up, everybody? We had to come back. Y'all see the banner right there. We had to come back. I was about to go get some lunch. Breaking news. Breaking news. Can't even go to lunch. Can't even go to lunch. Breaking news right now. The vice president is speaking. The vice president hasn't even really spoke. So we got breaking news right now. The vice president is speaking. The vice president hasn't spoken that much, but the vice president is speaking now. Breaking news right now. We heard about this. We talked about this. So this is the manosphere. So we got to talk about these things. So go ahead and share the show. Breaking news right now. So y'all see the banner right there. Y'all see what's going on. You see the thumbnail. Share the show right now. Breaking news. We got the vice president live right now. The vice president is live. I'm taking a break from my day. I'm about to text my brother Roger and see what's up. I'm gonna see what's up. See if he want to do a live stream because this is important. I'm sure he's gonna do a live stream about it tomorrow, but I'm gonna just let my brother know we live. But let's go to the vice president, man. Breaking news right now. Breaking news, man. Breaking news. Let's go to the vice president right now.
Represented by Senator Dick Durbin. He is an extraordinary leader, a great fighter for all of America, and in particular for the people of Illinois. So thank you, Dick Durbin, and congratulations to your grandchild for her honor today as well. And I want to thank all the leaders for joining us today. And a special thank you, of course, to Lauren Underwood. Where are you? Lauren, I have seen you when the cameras are on and when the cameras are off. She is always fighting for the people of her district, and all that you have done for our government, for the people of our country, and for Plainfield. I thank you for that. I thank you for your partnership and your leadership. So as Senator Durbin mentioned, we traveled here today. In fact, they both joined me along with the Secretary on Air Force Two. And we traveled here from DC today to talk with you about maternal health, which should be one of our highest priorities as a nation. And I had planned to speak about our strategy for improving care for pregnant women and mothers across our country. And as you know, on the way here, however, we learned that the United States Supreme Court had rendered its decision in Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization. Here's what that decision means. For nearly 50 years, we have talked about what Roe v. Wade protects. Today, as of right now, as of this minute, we can only talk about what Roe v. Wade protected. Past tense. This is a healthcare crisis, because understand, millions of women in America will go to bed tonight without access to the health care and reproductive care that they had this morning, without access to the same health care or reproductive health care that their mothers and grandmothers had for 50 years. This is the first time in the history of our nation that a constitutional right has been taken from the people of America. And what is that right? Some might ask. It's the right to privacy. Think about it as the right for each person to make intimate decisions about heart and home. Decisions about the right to start a family, including contraception, such as IUDs, the morning after pill. Decisions about whether to have a child, including, as Senator Durbin mentioned, through in vitro fertilization. decisions to marry the person you love. Obergefell v. Hodges, Loving versus Virginia. This opinion also says, when you read it, that abortion is not deeply rooted in our nation's history. They offer that in the opinion as a foundation for the decision they rendered today. In holding that it is not deeply rooted in our history, today's decision on that theory then calls into question other rights that we thought were settled, such as the right to use birth control, the right to same-sex marriage, the right to interracial marriage. The great aspiration of our nation has been to expand freedom. But the expansion of freedom clearly is not inevitable. It is not something that just happens. Not unless we defend our most fundamental principles. Not unless we elect leaders who stand up for those principles. The strength of our nation has always been that we move forward. Today, I invite all people to stand together in defense of one of the most fundamental ideals and principles that for generations, for centuries, I believe we had held dear, which is that fundamental principle about the importance of liberty. To stand for liberty, to stand for freedom, to stand for self-determination, and for the right to privacy. You have the power to elect leaders who will defend and protect your rights. And as the president said earlier today, with your vote, you can act, and you have the final word. So this is not over. God bless you, and God bless America.
Vice President Kamala Harris speaking there about the Supreme Court ruling today in strong words, talking about the expansion of freedom not being inevitable, as she says that it is now incumbent upon the citizenry to take action to change some of the rules, some of the laws in different parts of this country. I do want to go to NBC's Julia Ainsley. She is outside the Supreme Court for us today, where crowds have been gathering for hours now. Julia, I know you've been hearing from people on both sides of this debate on abortion here. Talk to us about some of the
So that was Kamala Harris. What's up, everybody? Thank y'all for tuning back in, man. We back in the building, man. We got my brother, my little brother in the comment section. I'm doing my best to share the video. I had a lot of people just watching, so I know everybody got to go to break time and go to lunch and everything. But I had to go live right now. Hey, Miss Perfect Timing in the building. What's up, baby? I had to go live right now. Salute to you, bro. We won't have any rights in a minute. They're going in the gun control too. So did you see the scare tactics? So I want to play Biden's statement. We're going to go to Biden's because Biden said something similar. So the liberal, y'all got to watch my video I did yesterday about the liberals and the liberal talking points and have the liberals destroyed black communities, right? And immediately she went to liberal scare tactics, talking about potentially how now this could affect same-sex marriages. I didn't know it was that many same-sex marriages. I didn't know we needed to protect. It's only like 2% of the population. How did this become such a wedge issue? It's not that many same-sex marriages. It's not that many people who desire. It's less same-sex than it is vegan. Vegan is 6%. Same-sex is like 2%. How did it become such a wedge issue? Check this out what Biden said. Yeah, share the show, man. Breaking news, man. Roe versus Wade overturned. They've been talking about doing it. And this is huge. This is going to ripple today. We got $8 gas, food shortages. So, and if you get pregnant, you may not be able to feed the baby. So think about this. We don't have baby formula. If you get pregnant, you may not be able to feed the baby. So you may not have a job. The husband may not have a job. And now you don't have no way to have an abortion. What happens to that baby if you can't feed the baby and there's no food for the baby? You don't have an education. The father don't. Gets deep, you guys. This gets deep because no one's thinking about $8 gas, and then they want to scare you about same-sex marriage, interracial marriage. Listen to this. Listen to this.
Was decided and has been the law of the land since then. This landmark case protected women's right to choose, her right to make intensely personal decisions with her doctor, free from the interference of politics. It reaffirmed basic principles of equality, that women have the power to control their own destiny, and it reinforced a fundamental right of privacy, the right of each of us to choose how to live our lives. Now, with Roe gone, let's be very clear. The health and life of women in this nation are now at risk.
So, Josh, what's been the reaction to the president's comments on this issue so far?
Well, Aaron, we are hearing Democrats and abortion rights advocates echoing the president.
So y'all already see where they're going. Y'all already see where they're going. Y'all already see where they're going. I want to get Biden's full statement. Let's go outside. Let's see what people are saying. Let's see where they're going. I want to get Biden's full statement. Anybody got any links? Y'all put a link in the chat if y'all got anything interesting. I want to get Biden's full statements, and I want to get some reactions from people. We got some people speaking right now. Okay, let's get. Oh man, it's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a good one. We got people reacting in the audience.
Whereas I think what the majority did here is simply decide correctly that this was never something the court was supposed to be in.
That national elections matter, but also that local.
Thank you so much. Well, now slashed away my shame for getting one. Abortion access
To the fullest extent possible. Recognize.
What can the federal?
All right. Thank you, everybody watching, man. Thank you, everybody watching. Share the show, man. Share the show, man. Man, that Johnny Depp, man, go up, man. Everybody was fucking with the Johnny Depp, man. Johnny Depp is like hotcakes, man. Johnny Depp, man. You put Johnny Depp. I should put Johnny Depp in the title, man. Maybe, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm supposed to be eating lunch right now, man. But this is my job, man. This is my job. Perfect Timing Podcast, man. This is my job, man. You know, no rest. No, you know what I'm saying? It's like no sleep till Christmas, man. It's my job. So,
Federal government do? Can the federal government have any room to step in and do these things?
Well, actually, the president is going to be speaking, I think, in about 10.
Expressly took away a constitutional right from the American people that it had already recognized. They didn't limit it, they simply took it away. That's never been done to a right so important to so many Americans, but they did it. It's a sad day for the court and for the country. 50 years ago, Roe v. Wade was decided and has been the law of the land since then. This landmark case protected women's right to choose, her right to make intensely personal decisions with her doctor, free from the interference of politics. It reaffirmed basic principles of equality, that women have the power to control their own destiny, and it reinforced a fundamental right of privacy, the right of each of us to choose how to live our lives. Now, with Roe gone, let's be very clear. The health and life of women in this nation are now at risk. As chairman and ranking member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, as vice president and now as president of the United States, I've studied this case carefully. I've overseen more Supreme Court confirmations than anyone today, where this case was always discussed. I believe Roe v. Wade was the correct decision as a matter of constitutional law and application of the fundamental right to privacy and liberty in matters of family and personal autonomy. It was a decision on a complex matter that drew a careful balance between a woman's right to choose earlier in her pregnancy and the state's ability to regulate later in her pregnancy. A decision with broad national consensus that most Americans of faith and backgrounds found acceptable, and that have been the law of the land for most of the lifetime of Americans today. And it was a constitutional principle upheld by justices appointed by Democrat and Republican presidents alike. Roe v. Wade was a 7-2 decision written by a justice appointed by a Republican president, Richard Nixon. In the 5 decades that followed Roe v. Wade, justices appointed by Republican presidents from Eisenhower, Nixon, and Reagan, George W. Bush, were among the justices who voted to uphold the principles set forth in Roe v. Wade. It was 3 justices named by one president, Donald Trump, who were the core of today's decision to upend the scales of justice and eliminate a fundamental right for women in this country. Make no mistake, this decision is a culmination of a deliberate effort over decades to upset the balance of our law. It's a realization of an extreme ideology and a tragic error by the Supreme Court, in my view. The court has done what it has never done before, expressly take away a constitutional right that is so fundamental to so many Americans that had already been recognized. The court's decision to do so will have real and immediate consequences. State laws banning abortion are automatically taking effect today, jeopardizing the health of millions of women, some without exceptions. So extreme that women could be punished for protecting their health. So extreme that women and girls were forced to bear their rapist's child. With the child, a consequence. It just stuns me. So extreme that doctors will be criminalized for fulfilling their duty to care. Imagine having a young woman have to carry the child of incest as a consequence of incest. No option. Too often the case. The poor women are going to be hit the hardest. It's cruel. In fact, the court laid out state laws criminalizing abortion that go back to the 1800s as rationale. The court literally taking America back 150 years. This is a sad day for the country, in my view. But it doesn't mean the fight's over. Let me be very clear and unambiguous. The only way we can secure a woman's right to choose, the balance that existed, is for Congress to restore the protections of Roe v. Wade as federal law. No executive action from the president can do that. And if Congress, as it appears, lacks the votes to do that now, voters need to make their voices heard. This fall, we must elect more senators and representatives who will codify women's right to choose into federal law once again. Elect more state leaders to protect this right at the local level. We need to restore the protections of Roe as law of the land. We need to elect officials who will do that. This fall, Roe is on the ballot. Personal freedoms are on the ballot. the right to privacy, liberty, equality, they're all on the ballot. Until then, I will do all of my power to protect a woman's right in states where they will face the consequences of today's decision. While the court's decision cast a dark shadow over a large swath of the land, many states in this country still recognize a woman's right to choose. So, if a woman lives in a state that restricts abortion, the Supreme Court's decision does not prevent her from traveling from her home state to the state that allows it. It does not prevent a doctor in that state from treating her. As the Attorney General has made clear, women must remain free to travel safely to another state to seek care they need. My administration will defend that bedrock right. If any state or local official, high or low, tries to interfere with a woman's exercising her basic right to travel, I will do everything in my power to fight that deeply un-American attack. My administration will also protect a woman's access to medications that are approved by the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, like contraception, which is essential for preventative health care, mifepristone, which the FDA approved 20 years ago to safely end early pregnancies and is commonly used to treat miscarriages. Some states are saying that they'll try to ban or severely restrict access to these medications. But extremist governors and state legislators are looking to block the mail or search a person's medicine cabinet or control a woman's actions by tracking data on her apps she uses are wrong and extreme and out of touch with the majority of Americans. The American Medical Association, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists wrote to me and Vice President Harris stressing that these laws are not based on evidence and asking us to act to protect access to care. They say by limiting access to these medicines, maternal mortality will climb in America. That's what they say. Today, I'm directing the Department of Health and Human Services to take steps to ensure these critical medications are available to the fullest extent possible. And the politicians cannot interfere in the decisions that should be made between a woman and her doctor. And my administration will remain vigilant as the implications of this decision play out. I've warned about how this decision risks the broader right to privacy for everyone. That's because Roe recognized the fundamental right to privacy that has served as a basis for so many more rights that we've come to take for granted, that are ingrained in the fabric of this country. The right to make the best decisions for your health. The right to use birth control, a married couple in the privacy of their bedroom, for God's sake. The right to marry the person you love. Now, Justice Thomas said as much today. He explicitly called to reconsider the right of marriage equality, the right of couples to make their choices on contraception. This extreme and dangerous path the court is now taking us on. Let me close with 2 points. First, I call on everyone, no matter how deeply they care about this decision, to keep all protests peaceful. Peaceful, peaceful, peaceful. No intimidation. Violence is never acceptable. Threats and intimidation are not speech. We must stand against violence in any form, regardless of your rationale. Second, I know so many of us are frustrated and disillusioned that the court has taken something away that's so fundamental. I know so many women are now going to face incredibly difficult situations. I hear you. I support you. I stand with you. The consequences and the consensus of the American people, core principles of equality, liberty, dignity, and the stability of the rule of law demand that Roe should not have been overturned. With this decision, the conservative majority of the Supreme Court shows how extreme it is, how far removed they are from the majority of this country. They've made the United States an outlier among developed nations in the world. But this decision must not be the final word. My administration will use all of its appropriate lawful powers, but Congress must act. And with your vote, you can act. You can have the final word. This is not over. Thank you very much. More to say this in weeks to come. Thank you.
You can see the president exiting without answering any questions. Of course, he is very upset with this decision, as many of our Democratic leaders across the country have been speaking out here ever since this.
One's life. I'm here today with some folks who are going to share their stories. Stories about how the freedom to access reproductive health care, or the lack thereof, has impacted them and the course of their lives. I'm also
There's a few other kinds that I've been very lucky not to have to experience. So I want to just make sure that everyone here is
over when and whether to start a family, allowing them to fully participate in our economy. It has reduced Black maternal mortality by 40%. And for the 1 in 4 women in the United States who have made the decision at some point in their lives to end a pregnancy, it has meant respect.
This person continues to stand on top of this bridge. It's been one of those shots we've been having in our triple box as we've continued to hear a different reaction coming in. So I'm going to leave that up in our triple box. We're going to be now headed out to New York City. We do have not only New York City Mayor Eric Adams, who is going to be giving some reaction, but other New York City leaders.
And our daughters. They stole the boundless dreams and aspirations of young women across the nation. Our female role models often say, young girl, this can someday be you. But today, the foundational premise of that statement has been shattered. And with this theft in broad daylight, the court sent a deeply disturbing, spine-chilling message. Women in America, you're not worthy. You're not worthy of having the ability to make a choice that will allow you to pursue your dreams, follow your ambition, break cycles of poverty, and live full and complete lives. This event is packed with women, many of whom's presence here today is a direct result of having choice. And it's a stunning example of the power of that choice. This is a room symbolic of powerful, colorful gatherings across the country. Now imagine a world where many of these valuable creative figures are absent. The strong women to the left and right of you, all because they can't make a choice over their body, and because they can't make a choice, they can't participate. That's a dark world. That's a world in which we all lose. So let's not get confused. Today, the nation was robbed of the hard-fought right for women to participate in all parts of our society. It's a right that allows our nation to be a more complete and a more just one. So let that ugly and simple truth be what burns in our souls and feeds our fight forward. Thank you. I'd like to turn it over to our Deputy Mayor, Sheena Wright.
I so deeply appreciate the sisterhood that we have here in the city. I am not as eloquent today as my sister deputy mayors, and I don't have prepared remarks. Quite frankly, I was stunned. Like the wind was knocked out of me today. We knew it was coming, but it's like, I was like, no, they won't do that. They won't take away this fundamental right that women enjoy in this country. And when it happened, I was just on my heels. I couldn't function the rest of the day. And the shock and outrage that I know we all feel, as has been said, has to be met with a fight back. I am grateful that we live in the city of New York, in the state of New York, but I weep for all of our sisters who live in all of those states who are going to be shamed, trying to shame them. They're going to be persecuted. This is a horrible, horrible outcome. But I know, particularly with these women here and others across the country, we will continue to fight and we will get on the right side of this issue. While we are stunned today, we're outraged, we're in despair, we have not lost because we will continue to press forward. The last thing I'll say is, as I thought about today, I thought, what's next? What's next? Clearly, anything is possible if this fundamental right has been from us. So we have to stay vigilant, we have to stay focused, and we have to keep pressing forward. I want to introduce our Chief Housing Officer, Jessica Katz.
Hi, everybody. I wasn't planning on coming and speaking here today, but listening to these amazing women and their stories, I felt compelled to. And I want to say something to everybody here, and particularly the men here today, is to just be gentle with the women in your life today. Because I'm relieved to be living in New York City on this difficult day, but it's also cold comfort because it still feels like a fundamental right has been taken away from us. As you've heard a few times here today, there's a few different kinds of abortion stories, and I've experienced a few of them. There's the kind where you're so young and it's the wrong guy and the wrong time, and you have your whole life ahead of you, and you don't think that that should be determined by one moment of bad judgment. There's the kind where you're having a miscarriage and you're in the middle of fertility treatments that didn't work again, and you're just desperate for it to be over so you can have the baby that you so desperately want. And I can't even imagine what it would have been like in that moment to have to beg a judge for mercy, as so many women across the country are now going to have to do. And then there's the kind where you have amazing family and the children that you want and the career that you've aspired to your whole life, and your family feels complete, and you don't think that another pregnancy and another baby is what's best for you or your family in that moment. So all those kinds of stories, there's a few other kinds that I've been very lucky not to have to experience. So I want to just make sure that everyone here is gentle and kind to each other today, and just to remind everybody how much all these amazing women on the stage today, we owe not just our careers that we love, but also the families that we love, to being able to have that right to have an abortion. So thank you so much to everyone who's here. And with that, Mayor Eric Adams.
Thank you. And I thought it was imperative that we heard from the women of the office. And I just want to bring on, before I speak, a woman who has been very much part of my career and have really watched me develop into the person that I am. And I just want her to be part of showing what the women of this office feel and what they are experiencing. Ingrid.
As our first deputy mayor and all of our other deputy mayors expressed, today is a tragic day, a sad day. When women cannot make a choice of what they want to do with their own bodies, it's completely unacceptable. For a woman who is raped, who didn't want to engage in having sex and becomes pregnant, to have to give birth to a baby that she may be ill-equipped to nurture is unacceptable. Deputy Mayor Ann William Isom said that whatever you feel like doing today, you should do. If you want to protest, protest. I say to you this: there will come a time when the opportunity will present itself for this tragic ruling to be reversed. Everyone who is outraged, you must exercise your right to vote for the proper president who will appoint Supreme Court justices who will see and understand the magnitude and the scale of what has happened today.
All right, so we are listening in here. New York City Mayor Eric Adams hosting this event with other fellow city leaders. We're going to continue listening in live. You can hear in the background some abortion rights activists outside of this event speaking out. And we have definitely been seeing both sides stepping out, especially in that Washington, D.C. shot. Do want to remind our viewers, viewer discretion advised, as we have a lot of opinions being shared here today. We're going to send some viewers off to a 2-minute break as we continue to listen in live here in New York City on Live Now from Fox.
The proper person who can make the right size appointments.
When we make this change, they were targeted in these communities. After today, young women will come of age with fewer rights than their parents. They come of age with fewer rights than their parents. Fewer alternatives. Won't be able to make these decisions. It sends chills down my spine. This is more than an issue of reproductive rights and public health. This is a decision about controlling a woman's body, controlling her body. You can't legislate that. You can't put in place some Supreme Court decision on that, the right to control your body. This is about who decides, who rules, who has power, and who's deprived of it. And right now, the American people are being deprived of that fundamental power to choose one's destiny. Whether they are allowing dangerous people to buy and carry deadly weapons or banning women from making their own health decisions, the far right, enabled by this court, has declared war on the American people. War on public safety, and our pursuit of happiness. They want to talk about constitutions. Somewhere I read that you have the right to pursue happiness. You just robbed that right away. The decision in these 2 consecutive cases, Roe versus Wade and Bruin and Dobbs, also highlight a fundamental hypocrisy on the issues of personal rights and states' rights. When it comes to our bodies, we have no rights. But when it comes to their guns, they have every right. This is not wise jurisprudence or reasonable argument. This is a power grab. The de-legitimatizing the court even as it undermines our freedoms. While there is talk of history in this decision, there's little acknowledgement of the reality. That is what we are facing in this court, including the reality of how this decision would play out for those already struggling with poverty and inequality, with racism and other crises. The reality that most Americans face, especially in poorer parts of this country. The court's dissenting opinion highlights that this court is now voting politically and not judicially. In my view, this decision signals that overturning Roe versus Wade is only the beginning of a long-range plan to dismantle individual rights and roll back social progress in the service of minority rule. From marriage equality, something I fought for on the Senate floor, to the rights of contraceptions, from voting rights to human rights, the court intends to destroy long-established protections and turn back the clock on the progress that many have fought so hard for. This is their beginning, but this is not our ending to fight against the Supreme Court and use our powers. And as Deputy Mayor William Isom has indicated, we are going to step up, because this is the city of fighting on behalf of all. We will step up and ensure those women across this country that need a safe haven, we will ensure they get information and ensure that our healthcare facilities are there to stand with them. And let's be clear, we're not standing idly by. We're working to inform the public of their rights in New York and ensuring the safety and security of everywhere. New York will be the safe haven for America and for the women of this country. All Americans must have a legal right to reproductive health care in any kind, including abortion. Everyone must be free to live their own lives as they choose without being constrained to retrograde in state-sponsored dominance. Anything less is an affront to our fundamental rights and must be fought with fierce resistance. And in New York and all over this nation, that fierce resistance will rise. New York is the place where freedom is defined, and rightfully so. Our demographics, our ethnicity, our diversity is reflective of every country and every state in this country. New Yorkers aren't going to stand by and let the will of the majority of Americans be bypassed. They won't be undermined by a cabal of activist judges with a clear political agenda. We must use our power of protest, as was mentioned, and our sacred right to vote, as Ingrid mentioned, to stop this assault on our individual liberties. And now more than ever, it's time for Congress not to sit on past precedent. Let's codify abortion into law. Let's pass the law that states women have the right to choose their body. This is our moment, New York. This is our moment, America. Let's step up and reach that moment. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions on time.
All right. So once again, city leaders out of New York here speaking after this ruling coming down here this morning. We are giving you both sides, both anti-abortion groups as well as those who are fighting for abortion rights. Listening in here with New York City Mayor Eric Adams says he's going to be getting some questions from the media. Just a heads up, some viewers going to be going out to a 2-minute break as we continue to listen in here live, raw, and unfiltered.
You may be a reporter, but you're emotionally attached. Fight as we look at what happens when unwanted pregnancy her body. I don't know any law
data and investigating miscarriages. Look, this is not theoretical. State legislatures are already competing to introduce the most extreme anti-abortion legislation they can. The level of control that the Republican Party wants over individual Americans is undemocratic, and frankly, it is downright creepy. It is dire, and our solidarity must reach across state lines, because make no mistake, The Republican extremists are coming for all of us. Red states, purple states, blue states. Of course, if abortion is outlawed everywhere, women with means will still find ways about it. The impact will fall hardest on low-income women, people in rural areas, young women, women of colors, victim of incest and abuse, working moms. So where do we go from here? Well, if Mitch McConnell wins back control of the Senate, he has already threatened to pass a nationwide abortion ban. So let me be completely clear on this. Democrats must win. And in a post-Roe world, I've got a plan. 1, elect pro-choice Democrats. 2, elect Democrats who will end the filibuster in the Senate. And 3, expand the Supreme Court. Now, the Senate recently had a chance to pass the Women's Health Protection Act, which would have protected abortion rights nationwide. It failed, and frankly, it never had a chance because of the filibuster in place. The filibuster allows the minority to paralyze all progress. It is undemocratic. It is a relic developed by racist politicians to defend Jim Crow, and it's time for it to go. So I'm going to be campaigning my heart out for Democrats like Mandela Barnes in Wisconsin, who has a great chance of unseating Republican Ron Johnson in November. I'll be out there for Charles Booker, who just won his primary in Kentucky. Woohoo! And for Democrats like John Fetterman, who is running hard for the Senate in Pennsylvania. That's what we got to do on the election front. Let's talk for a minute about the Supreme Court. Supreme Court is advancing an unpopular and partisan agenda. They're doing it on abortion and on a ton of other issues, everything from sensible gun laws to labor and civil rights. The Supreme Court is pushing goals that contradict the Constitution and the basic rights of the American people. Now, court expansion is not something that is new or radical. The court size has been changed 7 times in our nation's history. It is a small d democratic recalibration. And look, extremists are trying to send us back to the days when women had no control over their own bodies and their own futures. So if this feels like a personal attack, that's because it is. Many people today will feel scared and angry, but we do not give in to despair. I'm going to be doing everything I can to make sure that we have more allies in this fight. Look, we have each other's backs, and we will take care of each other. That's who we are.
All right, so Elizabeth Warren giving some reaction here. We do have our camera crews walking through the crowd.
Porque la vida no tiene precio. Thank you so much. And now, Whip Steve Scalise, que siempre ha defendido la vida también. Es un orgullo para mí presentarlo, porque necesitamos más personas como él.
As a new mom, I know there is nothing more extraordinary than the miracle of life. Hearing Sam's heartbeat for the first time, I'm gonna cry, was the greatest blessing and gift for our family. And I stand unified with my Republican colleagues in protecting and promoting the right to life. I'm proud to introduce a pro-life leader and our ranking member of Energy and Commerce, Kathy McMorris Rogers.
First of all, I thank God for this day. Thank God that his mercies are new each day, and he is the giver of life. And I ask for the next 50 years and beyond in our country, how are we going to define the greatest human rights issue of our generation? This Supreme Court decision marks a chance for us to restore hope and healing to every family in this country, moms and children at every stage of life. And may it begin with each one of us doing our part to protect and celebrate all life in this greatest experiment ever, greatest experiment in self-governance that the world has ever known. However, Speaker Pelosi and the Democrats are forcing an extreme agenda on America through their Abortion on Demand Until Birth Act. It would nationalize abortion all across this nation, making America just as radical as China and North Korea. It legalizes discriminatory abortions at every stage based upon sex, race, or disability. It overrides state laws that protect women from coercion. There's no part of this that celebrates the life, the dignity, the value of every life. I think about my friend
resonate with a lot of other people. You know, we do have, I think, a legitimate concern.
All right, guys. So we've been listening in here, Mayor Laura.
Thank you, Mark. This could be for you, Jennifer, as well. As
Providers shouldn't be footing the bill by themselves. We've got to step up as a city government, as a state government, as a county government, and make sure that we're doing our part as well.
So no specific immediate timetable for any increase to that 500,000 other than,
No, what we're going to continue to do is talk to the providers, the people that are closest to this, to understand what their needs are and what their pain points are. If we need to do something before next year's budget is passed, certainly we're open to that. And again, I'm going to urge my colleagues in the General Assembly to engage in the same conversation that I know that they already are, to talk to providers across the state.
Reproductive freedom
Hey,
and
Perv, what's up, bro?
inextricably linked.
Can you hear me, bro? What's up, bro? I was muted, man. I was muted. What's up, man? How you doing, man? Go in,
I'm
man.
relaxing. I'm chilling. You remember we talked about this a couple years ago, and I told y'all when niggas get fed, when men get fed up, all this shit gonna roll backwards. Y'all, it is. I remember we was all arguing on the panel, and brother was telling me like, man, no, this shit here. I kept telling bros like, look, man, the Me Too shit, all that other. I kept saying when that shit run its course, and men are tired of indulging this shit, all of it will roll backwards. That's what happened with the Amber Heard shit. That's what this Roe v. Wade shit is. Dude, men are finally paying attention again.
Correct.
For years, men wasn't paying attention to what was going on because they was working, living good lives. As they noticed their quality of life go down, they started paying attention to the actual politics. The only thing about this stuff is a majority of people are pro-life. They're not pro-choice. So they up there talking that nonsense on TV because it's CNN and stuff. And we know that they're a Democratic leaning station. But the real truth is a majority of people are pro-life, not pro-choice. Just like a majority of people are against homosexuality. They're not for it. They just don't feel like we should bother. Like the majority hasn't been voting. They've been getting small little blocks of people voting. But all this is America showing you its true colors. Just like with Donald Trump. People, Trump not gonna win. America showed you who they is already. We not a democratic nation. We are a republic. This is why when you say, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which this stands, one nation, under God, indivisible. You see what I'm saying? This is not a democracy. We live in a republic. And the republic say, the state's telling you, we don't agree with this shit no more. Y'all had people fooled. Y'all had the wool over people's eyes. All it took was a serious Democratic president to come in office. And the people are showing you they don't agree with Democratic policy. They don't agree with the Democrats. They don't agree with socialism. That's why the gas is how everything is fucking up with under these people. And the people telling you that, hey, we don't want this person. We don't want this shit to be happening. We don't agree with what y'all doing. Like we said, we already know that Biden is the most disliked president in 60, 70 years? You know what I mean? This is America's true colors, but they showing you who they is. I remember when Trump first ran and I told people that he was gonna win, everybody looked at me crazy, like, man, nobody gonna vote for Trump. Because most black people live in a bubble. They don't even really live in the real world. They live in this little bitty bubble of getting free shit, of not working for shit, of not really knowing what's going on. Because like you said, most of us live in a gynocratic situation where the women is controlling most of the shit that's going on. So most dudes don't know, but the brothers that's working, we starting to pay attention. This is why they've been talking about all the black male vote, because now brothers is finally paying attention. You know what I'm saying? And like just like this say, 61% of US adults say abortion should be legal all or most of the time, while 37 is. But listen what I'm saying. I don't believe those numbers. I don't believe them. I know too many people that's against abortion. Most people I know is not with that abortion shit. Now that's a what you call it, that's just the people I know. That ain't, I'm not saying everybody, but a majority of white people, black people, Mexicans, they're not with that abortion shit. I would even say, how do y'all know 61% of Americans say abortion should be legal? Y'all didn't ask all Americans that shit. We need to go find out who did this actual study.
You see the numbers? It says the CDC reported that for the numbers was 629,000 and slightly up from 619 in 2018. But the latest figures from 2020 show that there were 930,000, which makes a lot of sense because we know what happened in 2020, right? And that was up from 916 in 2019. Almost a million a year. You know, when I did my research, I don't know if it's going to go into that, include legal induced conducted by clinics, hospitals, physician offices that make use of abortion pill dispensed from certified facilities such as clinics. They do not account for the use of abortion pills that were obtained outside of clinic. So this is what I wanted to bring up here. When you see these numbers, a lot of the times the numbers are only what's happened in the actual in the operating room, right? It says here that these numbers include uh, uh, officers that may use pills dispensed by certified facilities. But most times when you see these numbers, I don't believe that because a lot of those are not classified. When I did my research, those are not actually classified as abortions. They're classified as discrete procedures to skew the numbers. So when black men be having this $20 million, the 20 million figure, that figure is actually off. If we actually knew the real number, I think we might be upset or you might be sad. You know, that's not the real number. 20 million is the number over the amount of years since 1973, if you count what's happening in the operating room. But there's a different designation for things that didn't happen in the operating room, and they're called a discrete procedure. So if the woman, even in this article, it says that if the pills were obtained, if the pills are outside of clinical settings, that the numbers don't count that.
No,
right?
we know for a fact, not for a fact, but we know closer with black women, they have like 370,000 abortions a year. If you're counting just black women, they like a third of the number that's having an abortion. They've aborted.
And we're 10%
They've
of the
aborted so
population.
many children. Yeah, they've aborted so many children. It's damn near our population. What's up?
This is a big issue as far as them linking it, and it's about Biden being a one-term president, about Biden being a lame duck president. We have a midterm election coming up, and they're talking about making the government bigger. Did you see? Because think about this. This is coming up during a Democratic presidency, right? It didn't come up. You can't blame Trump. This has happened during a Democratic presidency. So you always need to ask the why. Why is this happening during a Democratic president? Well, that white lady just told you they're trying to expand the government for the next phase of what this transition is, because we already hear about food processing plants. Y'all heard about the 19 food plants that got burnt down, right? When Biden is telling you that food shortages are coming, this morning we talked about the mental illness of women, and now we're talking about the delusional aspects of women. Women are the providers, right? Women are the ones who cook and make the food. Why are women so concerned about this? And I don't hear no women talking about the baby formula. I don't hear no women talking about the fact when you go shopping for your kids to eat, there's nothing to eat in the store. Like our priorities are all off. So I'm very confused about what's going on, and because what's happening right now we are in dire times. Like, not to get people scared. I remember when we were talking about the prepping a couple months ago. Like, do you guys realize just realistically, not to scare you about what potentially could happen in the next 6 months, but do you know we're coming out of an 18-year multi-war? Just if you like history, I know my brother G, he likes history. If you like history, America, and Obama was the first one to say that Iraq and Afghanistan were both wars. You know, that means the Congress designated them as wars, there's budgets. So we were in a dual war, an Iraq war and an Afghanistan war for over 18 years. That's what we're dealing with, you guys. When you see pandemics and all this shit and shutdowns, this is all trying to get us back. We don't get back because we fought just like Russia fought Afghanistan for 20 years. It bankrupted Russia. So we are on a get back. So it isn't always about people scaring you about, oh, this is going to happen. Like, there's so many, they're distracting you from so many things that you don't see the facts on the ground. That America is broke, and America is not broke because it's Biden and Trump. America had been in the war for 20 years. It goes back to Bush. It goes back to 9/11. We've been in the conflict for 20 years. Obama managed a bankruptcy. So now we bankrupt. Everybody else is a superpower. We are one of the poorest nations in the globe. China's richer, Germany's richer, Russia's richer because they weren't in a war. So when we talk about this issue and why it's coming up, the Democrats this is the Democratic chess game to gain power to get them through this transition. We've been in an 18-year dual war. We are broke. They want to expand the government. Now, why would you want to expand the government? To take away rights. Now, they're saying to you that they want to expand the government because the Republicans are taking away rights. No, the Republicans are actually shrinking the government. By removing Roe versus Wade, you're shrinking the government. That's the goal. You should be up to adults to make this decision. The government should not be involved in our bedroom, right? If you're gay, straight, or if it's a pregnancy. The Republicans with this decision have shrunk the government. That's the goal. We don't want bigger government. Anybody out there got a thinking cap on? Why do you think they want more government, more power? Do you think they want more government and more power to not use it? The government wields their power on the people. So they're asking you in November, just 30, 40 days, 90 days from now, to vote and give them more power when gas is $8 a gallon. Why would you want to give them more power? Look what they've done with the power that they have. What will they do if you give them more power? Make you pay $20 a gallon for gas? I think you need more power. I think you need more choice. They want to expand the Supreme Court. Why? To make more restrictions? I have freedoms. I'm in the freest country in the world. It's working so far. Why do you need more Supreme Court justices? And you're a Democrat. You're a liberal. You're supposed to be for freedom. Why would the Democrats want to have more overseers? Overseer, officer. Why would you want more Supreme Court justices? To make more laws for me and my children? I don't understand. Is anybody listening? And if women are concerned about a decision that you were given inappropriately, that decision that you made solely on your own, and it was wrong, and it's led to the way women operate now, freely without any accountability. Because I can have sex, I can get pregnant, and I can kill a baby. And in New York and in California, you can kill a baby even after the baby is born. That means women had the right to commit murder. Women have been made gods by the gynocracy. The DSM-5 has made mental illness now a normality. By them normalizing mental illness, they've also said it's okay to murder something that you grew in your body for 9 months and that you will not have any mental effects. And what about nameless epigenetics? What happens down the line to that bloodline? See, the reason why G's brought up these things are changing is not because they're making it a black issue, but it's not changing for black people. It's changing because white men are at a 0% birth rate, and white men are tired of losing power. This is about power, and it's about white women who had the ball and misused the power that white men gave them. White men listened to their daughters, to their wives, and said, okay, I don't want to treat my daughter and my wife like a nigger, right? My daughter and my wife is above and better. This was the game that white women played and the billionaire corporate people played on ignorant white men. Oh yeah, my wife is better than the black man, so I need to make sure that my white wife always has more rights than the black man. But what did you end up doing? You racist, ignorant motherfucker, you. You ended up empowering your white women to the point where they don't need you anymore. And your monkey ass is crying with a tiki torch talking about you will not replace me. Well, the bitch already replaced you.
Boy, that's the thing, Perf. All the shit. This is what I was saying before. They didn't replace them. They gave them the positions. We got to start speaking the truth in this shit and stop trying to placate and talk nonsense. Women don't got shit that man didn't give to them.
That's what I just said.
I know that's what I'm saying. That's what you said. Like they ain't like, man, listen, these people, the politics that we seeing is entertainment. The people that really run this motherfucker, you don't even know who they are. We don't even know the names of the people that really run this bitch. And I always tell people this, think about the city that you live in. The city that you live in, somebody owns that city. Now, you don't know who those people are who actually own the city, but you see their names everywhere when you look at your street signs.
Sutter Health.
You see what I'm saying? When you look at your street signs and your areas and your
Kaiser
districts.
Permanente. Kaiser Permanente. Yeah. Sutter Health.
Yeah,
Sutter is exactly. All over Sutter's all over Sacramento. That's a person. That's a family. They own Sacramento.
Yeah.
Sutter.
Just think about that.
Sutter Health. And what do people like that go into? They have so much money and power that they create hospitals to give back. Like the Shriners. I got so much money and power that I create a school, a university. I create a hospital. Those are the people. Those are the people.
And think about not only that, think about this, your utility companies. Who gave them permission to set up the utility companies? Exactly. The water company. You got it, like underneath every city is a whole nother city. People don't realize, I'm like, bro, where do your water come from? Why do you not see the pipes that your water come from? Because it's under you. Why don't you see the electric lines? Because it's under you. So who laid the foundation under and then built a city on top of that? People don't think about this type of stuff. When these people making decisions, they're not making decisions based off no fucking vote. That's entertainment. Why do you think there's only two choices? Or three choices at the most?
Bilderberg and that guy who runs Bilderberg was just in the news because of the pandemic. And the Bilderberg, so a lot of people know about Bilderberg. I remember when Barack Obama went to Bilderberg, everybody was surprised, right? And basically what you learned recently about Bilderberg is what Powernomics, what's his name? What Powernomics been telling you for a long time was City Planning. Bilderberg,
Claude Anderson, yeah.
Claude Anderson.
Dr. Claude, yeah.
Dr. Claude. They make plans 20 to 100 years in advance.
But not even that. Not even that. We gotta realize we don't live.
Nothing is elected. Like you're saying, nothing is elected. They plan everything that's happened was decided by these elites at Bilderberg 20 years ago or 100 years ago. So how can you?
100 years ago they knew this. They knew this shit was gonna happen. Listen, man.
So how can you tell me you voted something in when they made the decision that it was going to happen? That's how the Simpsons knows everything that's going to happen. The Simpsons is preparing you for what's happening because Bilderberg has already made the decision. And the Simpsons is massaging you when they had Donald Trump coming down the escalator. It's because it was written already.
And think about this. The world's money supply is infinite. The money is an idea. So when people think, man, you get the paper just represents the idea. But the whole world's money supply is dictated and orchestrated by the IMF. And that's part of the United Nations. We don't live in one single country. We follow UN mandate. So the UN mandate for the IMF, the money's already been doled out. So when they talk about we don't know what this money and this and that, yes, they do. They all sit together and make plans and vote on that shit every couple years.
Right. That's their job.
That's the IMF. Then you got like people talk about the CDC, but what they don't talk about is all this shit is mandated from the United Nations, United States, China, Russia. Motherfuckers like they enemies, man. They all friends. There's no
Yes.
enemies, man. There's no enemies no more. This shit being conquered. It's being done. We live in the empire, and everything go exactly how they want it to go. And for us to think that we have some type of control over motherfuckers who got strategic missile coal launchers and shit. Like, come on, man. We ain't even dealing. We done the royalty still like who the IRS is. The United States Treasury been bankrupt since 1933. The United States don't got no money. They tell you this in law. When you go look up the codes of law and you look up the what's that shit called? What's the biggest law is corporate law
Okay.
and commerce law. No, there's a certain the UDC. What is it called, man? It's called something, the UCC. When you look up the UCC, the United States Commercial Codes, it tells you that the United States Treasury went bankrupt in 1933. And they created the IRS, and nobody asked, who the fuck is the IRS? Nobody asked that. Nobody asked, who is the Federal Reserve? Like, who are they? Who owns this shit? We know that every bank is owned by a board of directors. Who's the board of directors of the bank, the federal banks?
Well, that's Bilderberg. That's Klaus Schwab. That's Bilderberg.
No. The Bilderbergs, Bilderbergs control social policy. I'm talking about who runs the Federal Reserve banks.
No,
who is those people?
He used to run the main bank. He used to run the bank that runs all of the central banks. That's what Bilderberg is. The Bilderberg is a discussion from all of the people who run the central banks. That's why he got so much power. There's a bank that, like what you're explaining is, there is a bank. If you understand banking and they go up to the central banks, and the central banks are the biggest thing, and that's why Gaddafi got murdered, because he was trying to create a central bank. Then you got that gold deposit in Uganda. So what's going to happen there? Are they going to be able to create their own central bank? But above and beyond that, above the central banks, there is a bank above the central banks that empowers the central banks. And Klaus Schwab and those guys ran that bank. They create money. They create policy. They create policy. That's what Bilderberg is. And the central banks and how everything is done comes from Bilderberg and that bank who you can't even have a central bank unless you go to that bank. People don't even know about this hierarchy. That's why Gaddafi was killed. Gaddafi wanted to create his own central bank and put them on gold.
Gaddafi they wanted to form the he wanted to form the United States of Africa.
Correct.
Yeah, so that was he wanted to make it a whole federal system. So that's when people talk about this stuff, and people talk about voting, the reason that they're eliminating Roe v. Wade is because they don't have enough people, like you was just talking about. If they keep this shit up and let this shit go, they're not going to have enough people to keep the system moving. And it's the same thing that happened to every other kingdom. If you don't have enough people to administer the kingdom, it's going to implode on itself.
Right.
You already see it. You already see it in places like Michigan, LA. All these, they don't have enough people.
Milwaukee,
Milwaukee, Cleveland.
It's happening in Oakland. It's happening.
Yeah,
and you know
Oakland fucked up.
I'm from the Bay Area, and this is the thing. I'm not no snitch or nothing like that. But if you grow up in these neighborhoods and you know how bad they are, and you don't really, I'm not really a sympathizer. But when the white female mayor gave me the numbers on the amount of police in Oakland, I don't use the S word, but I was like, I would call my family and tell them to get out of Oakland. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, because think about this. Oakland's so fucked up.
Less than 700 police officers in Oakland. I said,
or
what?
a million people city, or a city with damn near 1 million people.
She said we dying. The same thing
and
in
think
Chicago.
about this.
Oh, check this out real quick. I'm gonna let you go. In Chicago, over Memorial Day weekend, everybody was talking about the Buffalo shooting. You know what I said about the Buffalo shooting? I said over Memorial Day in Chicago, there were 45 shootings and more murders than in Buffalo. And I said last year in Chicago over Memorial Day weekend, there were 35 shootings. So it increased. You know what Mayor Lightfoot said? Because it was 35 shootings last year, I had every police officer, including me, on the street. with every available police officer in Chicago making overtime, they had more shootings, more than Buffalo, 45 shootings and more deaths than Buffalo. That's what's happening in America right now. With every cop working, they still couldn't control the crime in Chicago.
And this is the thing, Perfect. Even with all those shootings, that shit is still better than the 90s was in Chicago.
Yeah, still better numbers.
Yeah, it's still better numbers. That's what I tell people. This shit getting, people think like it's so bad. Like, no, you must not remember how the 90s was. Like, motherfuckers was getting everywhere. In the 90s, everybody was getting, every major city in America had 100 murders, 200-300. I remember they was talking about when Maryland was the murder capital, and that small city when Baltimore was the murder capital, they had like 400 murders in a city that's the third the size of Oakland and shit.
You gotta have, at that time, the murder cap was 500. You had to be like at 500 because Oakland was the murder cap all through the 90s and EPA.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, Oakland, LA. But when people talk about these places, we gotta, man, when you go to like Michigan and you go to little places in Pennsylvania, you could see that the motherfucking infrastructure is failing. When you be driving in Michigan, man, that shit is scary, bro. When you hit Detroit and shit, and you be driving and they have a house, they have a block, right? Where there's only 3 houses on the whole block. The rest of the houses is abandoned and burnt up and shit. And there ain't no police.
You don't think you in America. It's a third world country. And
listen, man, I was in Flint. I was in Flint with one of my little females and shit. I was there for 2 weeks, nigga. I seen one cop. I'm like, damn. See, I'm from a republic. I'm from a place where this shit is well governed where I'm from. Where I'm from is well governed, man. It's like
you got white folks. Where if you got white folks where you at, you're gonna have protection. Like if you're not a protected class, then why do we need to put police here? Because you don't have a tax base. Okay, let me take it away from race. Shout out to my brother Chaotic Truth. Let's take it away from race. If you don't have a tax base, okay,
you ain't got nothing.
Right, let's take race out of it. Flint doesn't have police because they don't have a tax base. You want to explain that to people listening that don't understand what I'm saying? If you don't have people working, go ahead, bro. Explain it to people what I'm talking about.
Most people don't even know that your police force, your schools, everything is dictated by how much money they can extract from the people in the community. If everybody on your community is on Section 8 welfare, food stamps, they're going to ignore you because they have to put money into your community.
Basically, you got to get federal funding to pay your police.
That's bankrupt. Everywhere this ain't me shooting a shot at our people. Everywhere there's a majority of black women, it's the fucking ghetto. Because a majority of them are living off of federal funding. They're having kids, then they're using their kids to extract resources for the government. The government wants them to raise the kids because they need the kids for workers, for prisoners, for all that shit. So while these women think they're winning, they're getting the funding. Where they live at is always the ghetto.
Now think about what we just explained, everybody listening. Now think about, because this came up today on the Roger Report with Officer Faulkner. Think about everything we just explained. Now factor into that defund the police. And I felt like I was the only black man from the hood in the manosphere saying that was fucking stupid and that would hurt the black community. Think about what we just explained and then how they got ignorant blacks to shout defund the police. You basically put a gun to your head. All the crime y'all dealing with now, all the murders is your fault. Because when they said defund the police, you should have been able to have this tax-based conversation and say, hey, you know what? We already don't have enough police. We already don't have enough tax revenue to have enough police, fire, and police. Why the fuck would we want to defund the police? Think about how ignorant that is based on what you learned from my little brother. Some people may have heard me go against defund the police and not understand why I was so passionate. Why the fuck would you want to defund the police? You can't afford the police that you have.
Yeah. And on top of that, and it's the thing, Perf, they say that shit, but when you get to seeing, like my state is a majority white state. All states are majority white.
Hold on, before you go. Before you go. So for people listening, because I know you're there with somebody, when you saw that one cop in 2 weeks, and me and you both from the same place. Now, everything you've ever done in your life, taking all to account, how did you feel? Straight up, blood, because motherfuckers be full of shit.
Man, that's just scary. You understand?
Thank
You
you.
understand? I need my pipe out here. I gotta have my gun on. I gotta be on point. I gotta be watching everything because it's lawless. There's no nigga might run up and rob you. They might run up and shoot. Ain't nobody coming to help. When somebody gets shot out there, the body lays in the street.
Somebody listening gonna be, oh, these niggas want police. No, man, I want to doubt because you a real one and people can relate to you. I want to know from your perspective how you felt not seeing the cop for 2 weeks. That's real.
Man, that's just scary. If you live in a community where there's no, if you live, man, people that live in Detroit, people that live, they scared living in them places.
Come on,
man, they not up there in Chicago just happy go lucky. The motherfuckers is in the house. They scared. The only people, man, listen. When you see that shit,
defund the police. They don't want to.
No, hell no, they won't. Them people in Chicago want more police.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? They want more police. People listen to the rap and shit and think that's not a majority of the population. That's a small. The criminal element is a small percent of the population.
Oh,
so
wow.
most people work jobs and shit. So most people go to work every day. Most people trying to survive and have a good life, and they want to barbecue on the weekend. But nigga, we can't barbecue because these niggas sliding through the block with military grade weapons and shooting machine guns on the block. And a little kid to get hit, a little girl to get killed in the house, a little boy to get hit with a stray bullet because there's no law, there's no cops.
And that's not
when they go out there, like there's no.
America
when they go out
to barbecue, America barbecue, work through the week, save my money, fuck my wife. Traditional, conservative, Christian values. That's America. Traditional.
And think about this.
I might get drunk on the weekend. You know what I'm saying?
Think about this, perfect.
And call my wife a bitch. But that's the extent of my wild behavior. That was George. That was Ralph Cramden. To the moon, Alice. He went to work every day. He paid his bills, just like Homer, just like Al Bundy. He went to work every day, and on the weekend, on the worst I might do is get drunk and call this bitch a bitch. That's the worst I'm gonna do.
And think about this, perfect. When somebody get killed in Flint, bro, it take them like 18 hours to come get the body. Motherfucker be out there dead in the middle of the street all night.
They don't have enough ambulance.
To the point where motherfuckers will come out there and drag them out the street. So that shit crazy.
They don't have enough ambulance. They don't have police and fire. They don't have you can't, you know how much it costs to pay an EMT? And then the hospital, like I remember growing up in the 90s, and it was and like you said, Maryland and DC, when they had the murder cap, they had a rap group called the Section 8 Mob. You could look it up, and I liked them. And they was from DC, and they was called the Section 8 Mob, and they was the #1 rap group when DC had the murder cap. And he did a MTV interview, and the MTV interview was about what you just talked about. He said the murder rate is so bad, and the funding in the city is so poor that you could have 2 dead bodies in the same day, and they're gonna both be outside for 16 hours because it's only one coroner. So if there's multiple murders in the city, which to get the murder cap at 400 or 500, it's only 365 days. Are y'all listening? God, this shit be pissing me off. Motherfuckers ain't listening. You gotta have more than one murder a day. And in these places like Flint, listen what I'm saying. Because people might say, "Oh, they don't know what they're talking about." If you got one coroner and you got to do a police investigation, you gotta tape everything off. You gotta seal the body. You gotta do all these. You gotta go through all these protocols. It's a murder. The coroner got to come out. So the other murder, that other body is sitting there in the hot sun. Kids are seeing it. This affects the psyche. This is our epigenetics. This is what the Section 8 Mob, this is what G is explaining. This is what I grew up in. There's only one coroner. We're not trying to scare you. We're not making up shit. But if there's only one coroner, the other dead body has to wait because it's a murder investigation.
And think about this, Perf. In New Orleans, it was so bad that they had a thing called a 3-day murder. It was so many murders in New Orleans and they couldn't handle it so bad. If a main witness didn't come forward in 3 days, they would just close the case and let you go.
That's what first 48
because
came from.
because by the time 3 days happened,
That's
it's
what
been
first
20
48
more murders.
That's what first 48 came from.
They know that it's been so many murders in Chicago. There's so many murders. By the time they try to get to this murder, it's been 10 other murders. They can't investigate this one murder because tonight 3 more people gonna die.
G, this is what it is. This is what it is so people understand what we're saying. There's not enough police. And the police don't care
There's not enough money, there's not enough money to extract to pay them.
Listen. What you're saying is it's a numbers game. There's not enough homicide detectives. Is everybody listening? Because I like math. There's not enough homicide detectives. So by the numbers, we had to come up with a system because there's only 15 homicide detectives. So when we reach an equilibrium of murders, then we just throw these cases away and go forward because we can never go backward because there's not enough do you understand what I'm saying? There's not enough homicide detectives. If there's 500 murders and 15 homicide detectives, we have 48 hours. And a lot of the regular citizens may not even know that police officers in these cities have these type of rules simply because of the math. You think I can investigate your son more than 48 hours? I can't because, like G said, there's been another 20 homicides. So the math says that I have to create a rule. And after 48 hours, if we don't have a lead, the case gets thrown away. I mean, literally thrown away and shredded. Literally thrown away and shredded because I don't have the
fuck the
time.
homicides, just the amount of shooting victims. So now, fuck the people that died because they dead already. What about the people that lived? How many motherfuckers get shot and live through getting shot and have to go to the hospital and get those resources extracted? So you know, okay, it was 45 shootings, but only 17 people died. But 45 motherfuckers got shot. See what I'm saying? It was 45 shootings.
Right,
17
so how many
died, but another 30 had to go to the hospital. Another 22 had to go to the hospital.
And how many
and get
emergency
surgery.
rooms? And how many emergency rooms? How many operating rooms? Remember in COVID, I'm not even supposed to say that word. Remember in the pandemic when you actually had, I work in the healthcare. So they actually, they discussed the number of patient rooms nationwide. I knew these statistics, right? That we don't have enough patient rooms for everybody to get sick, right? But you guys don't know that. You don't work in healthcare. So when you explain the 45 shootings and 22 people go to the hospital, gee, how many emergency rooms in Chicago? Most of the time, 2 or 3. How many operating rooms? How many
That's what
operating
they
rooms?
even tell you that you hear it in the rap, like don't get shot where I'm from because there ain't no hospitals.
There ain't no
They tell you that like nigga don't get shot in Inglewood in Chicago because they're going to have to transport you. The city's so big and the traffic is so bad. Before the motherfucking ambulance, it's been 3 hours till the ambulance got there.
One of my favorite songs by my birthday twin, Nipsey Hussle, Blue Laces. When he talks about, and that song was based on a song by Ice Cube. Woke up in the back of a tray on my way to MLK. That's the county hospital, black. Where niggas died over a little scratch.
That's
You
a
know what I'm
fact.
saying? That was
And
Ice
think
Cube.
about that, yeah.
And
They was
Nipsey
talking.
Hussle
I
used to
seen a
sing this song.
documentary on LA.
He said
I seen
the weed is mine, the money is mine, the weed is yours. I'ma just drop you off and slide. The nigga put in the song, I'ma drop off my homeboy who I love, bleeding and shot. I'ma just drop you off and slide, nigga, in the front of the hospital, nigga.
Hey, I
It's a
seen a
reality.
documentary. I seen a documentary on LA in the 90s, right? They was talking about how they had so many bodies in LA in the 90s that the coroner and them, they just started packing them in freezers. Like, you know, usually we see the movies where they pull them out them little drawers and shit, right? They was talking about the police force in LA, one of the cops snitched. He was on a documentary, like, I just had to tell somebody. They had so many bodies that they had to rent commercial freezers to put the bodies in. I'm like, damn, they had to literally go to people like cold storages and shit. And they was storing the dead bodies in cold storage.
Sound like the plan. Yo, let me play this video, man. Check out this video. I got a video up I want to play. You guys check this out because this is not a small thing. It's not just about Roe v. Wade. This is connecting the dots.
Yeah, let me connect the dots. So if that many people getting murdered, right? And then you got the people that's dying of natural causes. They can't keep allowing abortions, too many people dying. See what I'm saying? They have to cancel that shit. They have like, man, people gotta have babies. Because if we're talking about there's these many thousands of murders every year, plus the people dying of natural causes, then the women is going into abortion clinics and killing the other babies. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, they gotta stop that shit. We have to replenish the population.
We have to replenish the population, and we're moving toward a labor economy, right? The first world countries are not going to be here. America is going to be a third world country. I know y'all going to be mad at me when it happens, but y'all going to be farmers.
Yeah, it's going to be like China. It's going to be like China. It's going to be a majority of the people.
China,
it's going to be a
people going to be vacationing in China. Rich people going to be in China. Rich people those going to be the rich countries. You know what I'm saying? But America, y'all going to have to farm for your food. The grocery store.
Yeah, but think about China.
Going away.
Think about China. When you watch China, a majority of people don't really work at corporate. They work like at little stands and shit on the side of the road. They all hustle.
Yep. That's what America.
They all sell food or little trinkets. They all got little small businesses where that's why you could go to China and you could buy a whole motherfucking tray of food on the side of the street for $2. It's too many people. First off, it's too many people. They don't have jobs for everybody. I don't know why people think that there's jobs for everybody in America. There's not jobs for everybody. We're moving towards an economy where we're moving towards an economy. If you're not a low-level wage earner, you're going to have some type of certification to get employment.
And there's nothing left. It's already there now. There's only Amazon. There's only Amazon, Google, and
Walmart.
That's
and
it.
McDonald's and shit.
Amazon and Walmart, and you in the food service industry, right?
Or the gas station. Are you a gas station?
Right. And you can't pay your rent with those jobs. You can't pay your rent at McDonald's. You already know that.
Well, no, you can pay your rent, but that's all you're going to be able to do.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? So if you know you going to a job where you make $700, $800 every 2 weeks, and your rent is $1,200, you got to pay that $1,200 and figure it out. If not, you're going to be homeless. A lot of people would choose to be homeless. Like most people who are homeless choose to be homeless. It's either be homeless or eat.
Oh, these people, it's white people in home. I'm in Cali, man. It's 103 today, man. So these white people, it's a river behind me. They choose to be homeless. That ain't no joke. I don't know if you see, people ain't living in LA. It's a reason why the homelessness is here, because people move here to be homeless. There's services created by Gavin Newsom. People move here to be homeless. Ain't no snow. It don't snow here in California.
Yeah, that's what you got it right. It's cold.
It get cold, but we don't got no snow. We don't got no winter like that, right? So people move here to be homeless because you can live on the beach. It's literally
and y'all don't have no major calamities. Like California don't got tornadoes and shit.
And
like the Midwest got tornadoes and shit.
And then food be growing on the trees. Literally, you know what I'm saying? You got orange groves and shit, you know what I'm saying? Motherfucker, food, people throw away food, people throw away shit in California. California is the 5th richest nation in the globe. So people throw away shit. People come here to be homeless. People throw away cars. I know people listening like, nah. People throw away TVs. I got a Samsung TV in my room that I got because somebody threw it away. I remember I came home. I live in a rich neighborhood. My wife said, go get that TV. I said no, because we already had a TV in the garage. I'm like, I got extra TV already. She said, go get that TV. I couldn't even lift the TV, 65-inch TV. Somebody had bought a curved TV. My neighbor had bought a curved TV, put his 65-inch out on the sidewalk. That's California.
Listen, man.
That's California. That's why people move here.
Perfect. Listen, man, these people where I'm at, these motherfuckers got so much money that I used to work for the trash company. I was a trash man, like on the back of the truck.
My uncle was a trash man.
This was like 12 years ago. I was young. It was like one of my first jobs. We used to go out there during Christmas, during Christmas time. We'd be going to pick up the trash. Literally, they was throwing away PlayStations and Nintendo 64s because they was getting the new shit.
Right.
And on top of that, them people got so much money, they would come out the house and give the trash man tips.
Yep. My uncle would
they would come out like, here go 20 for you, here go 20 for the driver, here go 20 for your partner.
Yep.
That
was a tradition. My uncle was a garbage man his whole life in San Francisco, and he would get tips. But the garbage man.
Listen, people talk down on trash man, and they make more money than the police and the teachers.
And he was done in 4 hours. He get paid for an 8-hour day, and he get done. If you do your route, once you got your route down, it only takes you 2 hours to do your route.
But just think about this though: the trash man make more money than the police and the teachers.
And it's a city job. You got a city retirement. He made money like my mama. My mama was a bus driver for the city. They both made more money than the police officer and the firefighter, and they bought their uniform from the same place. Yeah, bus drivers. That's what most black people do in Chicago. You gonna drive the bus. If you're gonna live in the city, you know how expensive it is to live in Chicago. Come on, man, to live in
And then think about this: all the factory jobs, you got to drive an hour to get there.
Yeah, so then you move out.
If you work at a factory, they got to drive an hour to get to the factory, but they do it because there ain't no jobs in the city for them.
Right.
If you ain't like, man, people don't understand that all these cities are segregated, man. I don't know why we act like, oh, segregation ended segregation for real. No, it didn't. That shit, these like LA segregated. Man, my cousins be telling me like they can't even go to certain areas because the Mexicans will kill them.
Same thing with Chicago.
We don't go to that. Yeah, same thing in Chicago. Same thing in St. Louis. It's the same thing.
Remember that shit when they stabbed up the little boy in New York?
Man, listen, man.
That shit
So
was
when
scary.
we talk about Roe v. Wade, so we relating this to Roe v. Wade just by saying like there has to. First off, we got to start mixing. They understand that like we need to make more mixed people to stop the segregation. The segregation is here. The only way to end the segregation is for everybody to have kids with each other. That's what people don't understand. We black people got to be mating with Asians. Asians got to be mating with white people. We all got to be mating with each other to eliminate the lines because we gotta become family to stop the segregation. If you never interacting with the essays and the essays never interacting with y'all gonna forever be beefing because we always gonna be in a labor war with each other. That's what I try to explain to the brothers. Like, bro, I'm not pro-immigration. And the reason I'm not pro-immigration because I'm a black man in America. I understand that, nigga, they're trying to get you out the way. We in a labor war with these people.
We in a labor war. Immigration taking away jobs from my son.
You just talked about how gas $8.
23-year-old son. Immigration is creating competition for my 20-year-old son. I got a job, right? Like I got certifications, I got skills. But what about my 20-year-old? Why would I bring in competition for my 20-year-old? These are the liberal ideals that I've been talking about.
Think about if we all, first off, we know that we're getting discriminated against and held back automatically. We know that we brothers, everybody in America know this shit. We not even gonna act like black men ain't getting held back and discriminated against. We already know this is what the country built on. We understand that. Then you invite in other classes of people. Like I remember where all the brothers worked in the factories. The brothers was the mechanics. The brothers was this. Now essays run the motherfucking factories. So when you going in there to apply for a job, guess who's sitting at the desk doing the hiring? A little Mexican lady. You think she gonna hire? You think she gonna hire Dewan and Kendrick? Nigga, hell no, she about to holler.
And guess what else? Guess what else? Because I worked at that warehouse. Let's take race out of it. You know what's key about jobs is just on the block? Culture.
Oh,
you know what you talked to me about? Because you needed my skill set. I got the job at the warehouse. But it was the culture. And she talked to me about you don't have to be careful when it's about the culture. You don't speak Spanish. And we need you to do this task. But the reason we don't hire a lot of blacks is because the Latinos have come into the field. They work hard, but it wasn't our choice. They came here by their choice. So they got the majority of the jobs. But once they got in, they created a culture where no one else is comfortable. Whites, blacks, Asian. No one else. And
in the factory, all the signs is in Spanish. You know what I'm saying? There's Mexican food trucks in the parking lot.
Right. And to be honest, the white owner of this company didn't actually like it. He didn't control what happened. They actually kind of took over his company. He tried to bring in other races of people because you know what he had happen? Then he had gang fights. The Norteños fight the Serranos. because he had 90% Mexican employees. So he was like, fuck, I'm not Mexican. I just want a company. They came here to work. I gave them a job, but then changed the culture. So it's not always race. She was a bad bitch too. It's funny that you knew that story, how real that story is. That was a bad bitch. And she was a coconut. She didn't like the Mexicans who worked there. She was Americanized. The Mexicans who worked there, she called them a derogatory term. And she didn't like them. So she gave me the job. It was a culture thing. No, go ahead. There's a lot that's happening. Black people are going to be affected by that, but we're going to be pushed out by culture.
Where I'm from the projects. But the projects that I'm from, we live on the side of town with the Mexicans. Right? All the black people is on the north side of where I'm from. And we on the south side, it's all Mexicans, except us, except our projects. But all of us had to go when we got 18 and 19. We was trying to go where the big business where I'm from in the areas, the slaughterhouses, the packing houses, right? Remember I told you about Greater Omaha, we looked all that shit up. So when we go up there to apply for jobs, it's Mexican women doing the hiring. So we like, what the fuck? So we got to go in there and you would go sit down. It'll be some motherfuckers in there that don't even speak English. They gonna get the job and they gonna tell you to come back tomorrow. You be like, damn, and the way you get a job is you just show up every morning hoping people quit. So this is the situation we live in. When you get hired on, all the supervisors is white dudes and all the workers is Mexicans. And it's only a couple black dudes scattered around the factory. The factory employed 400, 500 people, the slaughterhouse. So when you going in there though, it's only like 30, 40 black people, 300 Mexicans and 150 white people. And all the white people, the supervisors and shit.
This is the
and they like, and they like dealing with the people. They like dealing with the essays because the essays is more organized as a culture than we are. Like you say, they got motherfuckers in there that's like, they just got a different culture than us. They way more hierarchical than us. Most niggas, we independent. We ain't worried about what the next person doing. But the essays, they in there like, no, we got to keep him off. I remember they put me on the hardest shit. They had me holding this big ass thing, cutting the legs off the cow. I'm like, man, I can't do this shit all day, every day. And this is what brothers have to do. When you go into these places, they got all the sweet jobs already. So they putting you on the hardest shit. So it's not that brothers don't want to work. It's that after 8 months of doing that shit, your hands is fucked up. Your hands hurt. Your back hurt. Your feet hurt.
Again, though, it's on us. Because we haven't participated in society. We want to be players. We want to be pimps.
No, the real shit is, it's not that we don't participate. It's that we're getting discriminated against and we don't have the numbers that they have.
Well, that's not. Listen, you a little bit young. So it wasn't always like that. In the 90s, in the 2000s, some of the people above me dropped the ball. Like, I got a job, but nobody around me got a job. Everybody else got murdered and went to jail, right? So this is my cousin, right? We got police and fire and all that shit in my family to live in San Francisco, right? So one of my aunties, it would be embarrassing every time I got arrested. She would see me. But my little cousin who used to hustle, she went into that field and my auntie got her a job. Now, what we be debating about black women, because she a black woman, she don't like some of my stances, but she can't disagree with me, right? So she came to me, called me one day, and she was really disheartened. I talked about this before. And she said, I'm having a hard time on the job because the other races are discriminating against the blacks. And it wasn't like this before. It wasn't like this for our auntie. In Oakland, they had something called 100 black police officers, right? They got something like that in Atlanta. And so when she came into it, there was a black union, a black police officers union, and all these things to protect blacks, right? So what happened and what you describing didn't happen, right? On the job. Well, after my auntie and my mom, rest in peace, passed away, after that generation left, this new generation, this liberal generation, this LGBTQ, this abortion generation, well, they don't want to have a black police union. They don't want to have 100 black police officers. They don't want to be classified as black. So in lieu of having that, you are marginalized, and they have been getting fired, and they have been getting written up, and there used to be a large percentage of blacks in law enforcement. Now it has shrunk because the young people didn't see the value in sticking together from the 60s and the 70s. Because, Black Panthers and all that shit came from San Francisco. So you had strong black organizations in all of these places, and police and fire, at the bus, at the garbage plant. And then the younger kids came in under liberalism and liberal ideals and said, oh, we don't need it anymore. Racism don't exist.
Yeah, that's what it was. Man, listen, we fucked up because we should have knew better. We should have knew better, man. But in real life shit, a lot of our people are ashamed of our people, bro. They don't. A lot of our people.
That's it. That's
mentally, a lot of our people mentally believe that we not shit.
That's it.
Like this, man. When I used to go over there on Past the Channel, right, and be trying to talk to them dudes. Them niggas is fuck. They really think niggas ain't shit. Like they don't give us no, like when something happened with a black person, oh, that nigga's this is strag, this and that. A white person do something, oh, we need to investigate and see, because not all white. I'd be like, whoa, listen to how y'all sound, bro. Like this was a couple months ago, I had a whole hour, like I had to cuss Irv out, man. I had to get off the channel, because I'm like, bro, listen to how y'all talking. Y'all talking like we ain't never tried to have nothing or do anything, bro. Our people have our people had to fight against the federal government, nigga, to get standard shit. So we wouldn't have to live in motherfucking rat infested. We had to fight that shit. And these niggas on here because they got a job. Like nigga, man, listen, I know these niggas, bro. I'm from Omaha. I've been around these niggas. These the type of niggas that get these jobs and go in them offices with white boys and let them call them any type of name.
See, this is what I bring out. Listen. This is what I bring out about California. I notice it too. And I've traveled across the country. Cali cats, we traveled across the country. So they think we don't know. I know exactly what you're describing. And I pray about it because I don't want to ruin my platform. But it's something about this shit. And that's the reason why they kept hip hop in Atlanta. The person you're describing is the reason why they kept hip hop in Atlanta, why they moved it from California, why they moved it from Pop, why they moved it from Eazy-E, why they moved it from E40. What are one of the things you can find in common with all those men? Independent.
Like my man Panamera, my man JT the bigger figure.
Come
on,
man.
Independent.
Eazy-E had his own label. Eazy-E had his own label. Too Short had his own label. E40 had his own label. Tupac was a leader. They kept up. They took hip-hop from California.
Digital Underground.
Look,
they had their own shit.
Look. Somebody said something intelligent the other day about blacks and being Indian. He said, when you go like to Africa, he said, the Africans in East Africa are different, and it would make sense than the Africans in West Africa culturally, right? He said there's different food there, and I said, damn, that makes a lot of sense. They're all African, but they're extremely different. I'm like, they're tribal, and I'm like, man, why don't we recognize that in America? Because I see that when we talk about this conversation, when it talks about the different types of blacks down south versus the type of black in California, it's like a tribal thing where culturally we're different. Like in California, you got the PIMP. And I said to this before, I'm like, if you can't talk to a white bitch the way I talk to a white bitch, your culture is different. If you can't say, hey, bitch, come here to a white bitch in your city without some white man jumping out the truck and beating you up, you know what I'm saying? That dictates how you
Listen, I don't judge no man for the woman that he picked. First and foremost, I'm going.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about the way you move as a black people and the way they relate to, like when I was working at Kaiser, one black woman from New Orleans said, y'all different in California. Y'all just talk to white people any kind of way you want to. And I looked at her like, what the fuck you mean?
Most definitely.
I talk to everybody the same. I don't talk to white people.
Go ahead, bro. My fault.
No. Go ahead.
What you saying is, I understand that because where I'm from, we heavily West Coast influence. You know what I'm saying? Like like we don't got GDs and vice lords and shit like that where I'm from. Niggas is Bloods and Crips. And I'm saying that to say that we more West Coast influence, even though we in the Midwest. Like we bump E40. We was bumping short. We had a pimp culture. Like everybody here, like the niggas from Cali put they lick down here. So everybody here is from Santana Block and Crenshaw Mafia. And they rolling 60s or they neighborhood. They like the niggas here, the gangs, you could always relate to culture of the black people from the gangs that's prevalent in our communities. Fuck what everybody talking about, cause nigga, all gang members don't do crime. And I had to explain that to niggas. Some niggas is just Crips because they like cripping. And they got a job and they go to work every day and all that shit. And they still be with the homies and all that. You feel what I'm saying? So we all, black people, we tribal and we have a street element to us. Because we always had to have the streets to survive. We never could survive just off what white people gave us. You get what I mean? So we always had that undergroundness to us. Now in my city, we like that with white people too. Niggas be going hard like niggas fuck white bitches, but we don't treat them no different. I've noticed that the niggas from down south and the niggas from like towards the east, they look at white people different than we look at white people out here. And I think that's because we've been more integrated with them, or they came to our neighborhoods to hang out and shit. The white bitches came to seek us out in our area, in our sections. Like down south, they didn't have that shit. Like they got some dudes who it depends on where you at.
And look at your intellect. It affects your intellect too. Look at
it affects your vocabulary. They think we talk proper. Yeah. Look at George Jackson.
Was an intellectual.
Was an intellectual. Just look at George Jackson. He was a prisoner when he wrote Soledad Brother and Tears. Like when he wrote that shit, he was imprisoned in the system and he was still that articulate and literate. As opposed to when you go down south and on the East Coast is fucked up, man. I didn't realize how fucked up the East Coast was, so I started interacting with people from out there. So I started interacting with people from New York and Philly and Jersey. Like Jersey, Philly, Connecticut, like all that shit. Man, a lot of them niggas, they can't read and shit. They didn't go to school. And I remember just watching like Lean on Me and shit. That shit was all on the East Coast.
Think about Meek Mill. Like that shit was sad. Like it's like Atlanta what they do with Young. It's black people that act out white people politics. You don't really have that in California. You're gonna have a lot of rebellious blacks. You know what I'm saying? That's the shit that disturbs me with Meek Mill. That was a black female judge in Atlanta. That's a black DA, black judge, black chief.
And this just like they listen, man. When you go down there in the South and you really, I don't know if you've been down there for real or not. I really been down there, man. I really been like the Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Alabama. Like, I be driving them trucks. Bro, listen, man. They really different, like they really, the way that they look at the world, and the way that niggas on the West Coast look at the world is total. And then in the way people
I've been there. Go dope on Sunday. That's how. That's why I like him, because I've actually been there. I've been there before. I've been there professionally.
But what people don't,
there's no dope on Sunday. Liquor house. It's a whole.
But what people don't know about Atlanta though, Atlanta different. What people don't know about Atlanta is most of the people that's in Atlanta, they came from Oklahoma and shit. When the Tulsa riots happened, most of them people that was there in Tulsa afterwards moved to Atlanta. And that's the history that's how Atlanta got that black independence. Because those people that got ran out of Oklahoma, that got ran out of Tulsa and the Black Wall Street and shit, and the people that got ran, a lot of people went to Atlanta from those places. And it didn't just happen in Oklahoma. It happened in East St. Louis. It happened in North Carolina. And people don't know, most of the people that's in Atlanta are not even from there. They'll tell you that a lot of the people from Atlanta be mad at that shit. And they be trying to that's why T.I. and them be hot. Like, how was these dudes like Gucci and them and G? Them niggas ain't from Atlanta. Gucci man ain't from Atlanta. Jeezy not from Atlanta. Big Meech and them was down there. Them niggas ain't from Atlanta. Why did they go to Atlanta though? We got to understand that. That shit that happened in Atlanta is a direct result of what happened in Oklahoma, East St. Louis, Rosewood, Durham, North, because all them people moved to Atlanta after they got into it. And after the riots happened, they moved to Atlanta. But what people also don't know is the most lynchings ever in the country, right? The most lynchings ever in the country happened in Stone Mountain, Georgia. That's what people don't know. They hung so many niggas in Stone Mountain, Georgia, that was trying to, and most of the men that were hung were business owners. That's what they don't tell you either. Most of the men that were killed were independent businessmen. They were business owners. They were stuff. They weren't just no ignorant niggas that they was killing. They was killing the most productive black men. You get what I'm saying?
I'm here. I'm here. I was loading up another video. Where's Omar? That's the okay. This is Missouri. This video is Missouri. Check this out. So with this ruling, certain states are going to be trigger states, drop dead states. Like today, laws change in certain states today. This affects certain families today. Certain women may have been not like I said, women not paying attention to buying food in the store. Certain women may have had an appointment for a procedure, and if they didn't get it done before today, in certain states, you won't be able to get that procedure done. What's up, KP from KC5? Salute. Yeah, man. So this is about Missouri. So today we talking about KP. We talking about the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade, and like the Vice President Kamala Harris said earlier, today certain states will ban and not allow women to have that procedure done. So if certain women, I think it's about 7 or 8 states, if they were holding off or they weren't sure, they won't be able to get the procedure done unless they go to another state. So let's see what they got to say.
Surprised given the sort of guidance we had from the draft?
No, this hews very closely to the draft. It says Roe is not only wrong, it was egregiously wrong. It's 5-4 on the question of overturning Roe, 6-3 on upholding the Mississippi law. Chief Justice Roberts did not go along with the other 5 on whether to overturn Roe. And Casey, he said that goes too far and decides too much. The dissent, of course, is quite blistering, says it's a sad day for the court and for the millions of Americans who now lose a constitutional right that the court once granted and took away. And Shep, I would just notice one other thing. The Attorney General of Missouri has now just tweeted that it's the first state to let its trigger laws spring into action, that the abortion is now banned as of today in Mississippi or in Missouri. It was one of 13 states that had these trigger laws on the book that said abortion would become illegal once the Supreme Court ruled. He's already issued a letter declaring that that's the law of the land, so it's the first state to do this. Just a couple of other things. Justice Kavanaugh, in his concurrence today, says, in his opinion, he does not believe it would be constitutional for one state to bar women in that state or make it a crime for women in that state where abortion is illegal to go into another state where abortion is legal and get that service. And of course, because he is one of the 5 to go along on overturning Roe v. Wade, that has to be considered a controlling a statement from him. And the other thing is, there's nothing in this decision that says that states can constitutionally or need to have an exception in their laws for rape or incest. And the dissent says that's one of the problems with today's decision, that there's no longer any constitutional requirement that states make exceptions in their laws for rape or incest, Shep.
Do you read anything into, Pete, these back-to-back decisions, the New York State gun law and this Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health? Do they tell us anything about the future?
Well, they both say, look to the history. In the analysis in both the gun case and this case today is, remember what Alito says is, if the constitutional right is not explicitly spelled out in the Constitution, the only way to find it in the 14th Amendment is if it's something that's deeply rooted in the nation's history and tradition and part of the concept of ordered liberty. And he said abortion doesn't pass that test. Now, of course, many people have said, well, neither does same-sex marriage, the right to contraception, the right to interracial marriage, the right to refuse medical treatment, and so many other things. the statement is still in the majority opinion here that was in the draft that came out in May, that was written in February, that says nothing about today's decision should affect those precedents because Alito says abortion is different. There's a moral dimension because there's a potential life involved. And Justice Kavanaugh also says the same thing. He says overruling Roe does not mean the overruling of these precedents, although Justice Clarence Thomas says in his opinion the court now should look at those other decisions that were based on this notion of substantive due process in the 14th Amendment.
It's real, perf. Shit real, bro. I told man this shit was bound to happen.
We are already in a very...
It was bound, and I'm telling you, more states is going to adopt pro-life than pro-choice shit. Because a majority of the people consider themselves Christians. And if you a Christian, you can't be Christian and agree with abortion. You can be, but you just being a hypocrite. You just being a hypocrite. If the country considers itself a Christian country, there's no way you could go with abortion for too long.
What KP said, did you see the video of Roe lady saying she lied to gain support for Roe v. Wade? No, I didn't see that. You might go check that out.
It don't surprise me. That's what bitches lie.
Look at Emmett Till. After all this time, she's still walking around this day.
Just go back to the right. We just heard it on the Amber Heard trial. That bitch was lying on video, on camera, on audio recording, and still was on the stand lying, saying that wasn't her lying.
Man, the case I did after that was the case. Nobody really watched it, but that case with Danielle Redlick, she lied about killing her husband. She told the police that he had a heart attack. Later, told the police that she stabbed him. He still got acquitted because she a woman.
Listen, man. Listen, all that shit. Listen, I understand. I've read history, bro. I've read history books, bro. And if these women is not, what happened was you had indulgent ass fathers that indulged their daughters too much. And now motherfuckers that came to their senses and they rolling all that stupid shit that they gave them back. And if they not careful, we got to remember these is the same motherfuckers that was staking bitches and burning them alive and shit when the country first started. You guys like this shit.
And they're not doing it for us. They're not rolling it back for us. This is not about you.
Man, they not even listen. I hate to say this, but we not even a blip on their radar, man. They don't give no fucks about no niggas. They do certain shit. They do certain shit just to, make shit look good because politics is just entertainment for the masses. But in real life, man, there's not enough of us to make a difference. If we know,
I call it political theater. Well, I don't call it theater. That's what it's called.
I call it pageantry because that's what it is.
Yep.
It's just pageantry.
I agree.
It's just pageantry. That's all it is, man. When you realize if this country is majority, if we go by common law and there's majority rules, it ain't nothing gonna ever benefit us because we ain't never gonna be the majority in this country. So that we're voting for shit and we're supporting shit just to act like we really doing something. Other people like, man, you ain't gonna vote for what? What would I vote? Like, why? I would vote on a city level if I thought it made a difference and I had, I would vote for shit like giving us some contracts to do the roads, to fix the roads and to put up street signs and to do, lights and shit. And, I would do shit like that. But for us to vote on a national scale, listen, it's not enough of us to actually make a difference in any vote for real. So when they get to talking the nonsense stuff about go do this, go do that, do you really think they gonna let black people control the direction of their empire? Well, we gotta be smarter than that. That's like you going and dictating the rules in somebody else's house. It ain't never gonna happen, man.
What's up, KP? Oh man, you must have drove into a blind spot, man. Come back up, bro. Anytime, man. Here. This KP put a link in the back too. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the video he was talking about of old girl.
Oh
But
yeah, we gotta show that.
and then people look at me like I'm funny, pervert. People think I be tripping, and I be trying to talk to the older brothers in the space, and I be like, bro, that shit y'all talking is nonsense, bro. Y'all, first off, just in general, the topics that they discuss aren't even important. First and foremost, we're talking about mental shit and shit that affects us mentally. Okay, let's watch it. Let's watch it.
Shout out to KP. This is a video of Roe, aka Roe, and Roe versus Wade, explaining how and why she lied. Let's take a look.
Did they use you as a trophy?
Of course. I was the big fish. I was the big fish.
Do you think they would say that you used them?
Well, I think it was a mutual thing. You know, I took their money and they put me out in front of the cameras and told me what to say. And that's what I'd say. Wow. I took their money and they put me out in front of the cameras and told me what to say. That's what I'd say.
Wow. Give me an example of what you'd say.
We've gathered here today to pay homage to the children that are being aborted in this abortuary. We're doing this because abortion is wrong. And I, as the former Jane Roe of Roe versus Wade, do regret signing the affidavit for the pro-abortion camps. That was probably about it.
It was all an act.
Yeah. I did it well, too. I am a good actress. Of course, I'm not acting now. I did it well, too.
That really hurts because Jakes. It's big stakes. It's just really big stakes.
I had never heard her say anything like this. Never. But I know what we were doing. And there were times I was sure she knew. And I wondered, is she playing us? What I didn't have the guts to say was, because I know damn well we're playing her. What we did with Norma was highly unethical. The jig is up.
That shit cold-blooded, boy. But it's just like we know bitches lie, but just like the bitch that did Cosmopolitan, when she got sick and got old, she came forward like, look, we lied to y'all women.
About
All the
feminism.
shit we put in
About
here.
feminism. About feminism was a lie. Yeah.
She came forward and said all them stories we wrote in Cosmopolitan was fake. We made that shit up to get y'all to be hoes, to be fucking, and all. We made it up.
And go shop. And go shop. We wanted
That's
you to
it.
go shop.
Shit, like we did that shit to sell y'all products.
Yep.
The matter of fact, the woman that ran Cosmopolitan was married for 40 years.
Right. This is propaganda. This is how propaganda is. I know I'm muffled, man. Okay. How about now? How I sound now? Am I still muffled?
No, you're not muffled, but you probably need to get closer to the mic.
All right. How about now? Yeah, I think I think it's you, G. It come out when you're not muted. But I do hear it. But man, that's crazy.
like I said before, man, everybody laughed at me and thought I was tripping. I said, all it's gonna take is for men to finally pay attention, bro. And a lot of us wasn't paying, just like we talk about the shit we go through as brothers, but it wasn't put in the forefront until all of us congregated together and we spoke the truth. Once we all congregated together and spoke the truth about what we had to go through with our women in our life and our social structure, it's undeniable. They could come on and say whatever they want, but everybody know that we speaking the truth when we say the shit that we say. Even they know. That's why to listen to them talk, we got to understand that women didn't do nothing that men didn't let them do or encourage them to do. Just like the other dude said, we knew we was playing this bitch. Like, he was like, I had to think, is she playing us? Because I know for damn sure we playing her ass. And that if you look behind damn near anything that women do, there's some man behind them orchestrating the move. Just like with the motherfucking Black Lives Matter shit. That wasn't even them women. That was the dude George Soros funding and moving and making all that shit happen. But they was on the forefront and being the face of it, acting like they really did some shit. Now look what's happening to that movement. That shit getting pulled back and it's about to go to court.
Same
They
thing
about to.
Same thing with the
Go ahead, bro.
Same thing with the Me Too movement. That's what I exposed with the Amber Heard trial. That got a lot of people missed with the Amber Heard. To me, the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial was about Me Too and how this propaganda is created to sell movements to pass legislation. The Amber Heard op-ed was written by the AC. I can't say it because the algorithm don't like it, but the op-ed was written by these people, and they testified in court to why did they write the op-ed. They wrote the op-ed, they said, because they had legislation that they wanted to get passed on the Senate floor. They created Me Too, and they created these fake stories with Bill Cosby and R. Kelly to get legislation passed, to get the DSM-5 changed. What I've said to people is, people might say, perfect, what legislation? Well, now my daughter can never win a gold medal because the legislation that was changed has where there are 2 women pregnant in an all-women's prison. And you might say to yourself, how are 2 women pregnant in an all-women's prison? Why, perfect, can your daughter never win a gold medal? Well, it's because the top swimmer and the top woman swimmer in the Olympics, the top woman weightlifter, the top woman fighter are all trans men, right? And you seen this week where Joe Biden said that if in your public school, if it's a Title I school where 75% of the kids are poor, which is going to be black schools, if you don't allow boys to play on the girls' team, then he's going to take away the funding. Remember, me and little bro was just talking to you about the tax base. And if you don't have a tax base, the feds come in and give you the money. Well, if you don't buy homes, if everybody's on Section 8, see the way it's school. So when you go to the white neighborhoods and they public school looks real nice, it's because it's beautiful homes in that neighborhood where people bought those homes and paid property taxes, right? So that's what creates that beautiful school. That's the difference between the white school and the black school. So your school was paid for by the government to train you to be a slave and a worker because your parents and the people in your neighborhood didn't buy housing. The people in your neighborhood, they got housing given to them by the government. So the education, the food, everything is given to you by the government, which affects the quality of your education and quality of the school. This goes back to the tax basis where we got to understand the way the politics work. This is why these things are being done. These movements are created. Black Lives Matter. No one asked why. Me Too. No one asked why. What is the results of these things? You have this agenda now. And even this agenda, why do you have this agenda? I say you have this agenda to separate these people to get us through the transition of whatever they're gonna have next. I can't tell you what's gonna happen next. I'm not in Bilderberg, but I just know it's a separation tactic and it's by outside forces because in my opinion, America is one of the greatest countries in the world because you have where multiple races work together and no one monolithic country can beat that. If America operates under its ideology of this multiracial cultural place. If it operates like that, yeah, Russia or China can't beat it. You can't beat that. It's never been beaten before. So that's why interlopers come in with social media has been designed to separate us. That's what social
And
media
this is the
does.
thing. Yeah, and this the thing. The shit is on purpose.
On purpose.
The shit is the ghettos are rich man preserving they hoes, basically. They keeping the hoe class where these bitches down here in the ghetto, we can go fuck these bitches for a little bit of change. These gonna be our strippers. These gonna be our whores. And unfortunately, our women buy into that shit. They want to be hoes. They want to be strippers. They want, like, to them, that's an independent life where that man don't control them until they get 35. And then they realize, oh shit, I need a man because I was living off man the whole time. That's why I literally talk to stripper bitches, right? And all of them think that they the first stripper bitch to ever do what they doing. And I asked her, why don't no women own the strip clubs? And they look at me like I'm stupid. Like, why is all the strip clubs owned by white people? Like, when you go to these big strip clubs, why is white people and Russian niggas and shit all the owners of these strip clubs and shit? And they look around like you stupid. Like, man, you just a hoe. You're not nothing special. You're not doing the fact that you get naked for money. You not doing shit special. Like, that shit is shit.
So after all this year, boss bitch, not one black female owns. That's an excellent.
These bitches call themselves bosses and don't got no employees, don't own no shit or nothing. I'm a boss. What the fuck is you the boss of? Because you done went and fucked a 60-year-old white dude for $200. Like, that shit ain't nothing to him. He make $1,000 a motherfucking day. He only used you one day out the week. You gotta fuck 50, 60 niggas a month to make your quota. You gotta go over there and you know how strip clubs is. Niggas be grabbing them bitches, slapping on them, touching them. Man, listen, man, you already know what it is. I don't even go to strip clubs. But just the mentality that I hear from them, I'm gonna say at least 60% of our women, when they're 25 and 23, they real life are whores. Like, they real whores. Like, like, these bitches get paid to have sex. These are whores. And they don't think nothing. They think that in their head, they're not doing nothing wrong. And it's like, okay, how could you expect a nigga to value you when you done fucked every nigga in the neighborhood already? Because you got kids by niggas we don't even know. You just popped up pregnant. We grew up with you our whole life, but we don't know your baby's father. That shit don't happen when, man, listen, we got motherfucking family members in our family to this day where we don't know who the fucking kid's daddies is. And you know I'm not lying, Perfect. You got girl cousins right now. You don't know who the fuck her kid's daddies is. How do the man in your family not even know who your children's fathers are? Think about the degradation in our motherfucking communities, bro. Where we don't know our sisters and cousins and aunties and friends and our brothers, our homeboy sister. We don't know they baby father, but we all grew up in the same neighborhood. Because at night when we was doing shit in the neighborhood, these bitches was with strange niggas having sex. And then they talk about the Roe v. Wade shit like you bitches don't give a fuck about this shit. Y'all having sex with random niggas and not even thinking enough about the nigga to introduce them to the men who are supposed to protect you. Like, that's crazy. I don't give a fuck what nobody say. Damn near every white person I know, and Mexican person, and African, they know who they motherfucking sisters, babies, fathers, and shit is. I got cousins right now where I know they kids, knew them my whole life, helped raise them, bought them shit, all that, and I never knew who the hell they daddy was. Never met the nigga, never seen him, none of that shit. We got kids running around our neighborhood who we know mixed, and we ain't never seen this bitch with no white dude. Like, only thing I ever seen you fuck with was black dudes, but your motherfucking daughter is half white or half Mexican or Arab and black or some shit. And it's like, yeah, my daughter this and that, my son this and that. Where the fuck is they daddy at? Like, why have your cousins and your uncles and your daddy never met the father of your children? That shit's sad, bro. Sometimes I think about that shit and I get depressed. Like, man, how the fuck can we ever prosper or ever really have some shit where like 30-40% of our kids don't even know who they daddies is?
Damn, man. That's deep. Let me play this video, man. I gotta get out of here, man. I'm gonna play this video, then we're gonna get out of here. There's a lot that could be extrapolated from this today. So this is the last video, and then we're gonna get out of here. We're gonna talk more about this another time. I fucked around and missed an appointment having this conversation. Damn it. Hold on. Let me play this video, y'all.
From Justice Samuel Alito. He says, we hold that Roe and Casey, which was the 1992 decision, must be overruled. The Constitution makes no reference to abortion, and no such right is implicitly protected by any constitutional provision, including the one on which the defenders of Roe and Casey now chiefly rely, due process clause of the 14th Amendment. Justice Alito saying it's not in the original text, therefore it does not exist. That has implications not just for abortion rights.
Right. Any number of rights. And even though he sort of hints, and he did this in that first draft, that those other rights aren't on the chopping block. Look, the dissent from Justice Thomas makes very clear that there is a voice on the Supreme Court that is willing to go after or at least address the questions of same-sex marriage or contraception or whatever. And it's the same general legal framework that would strike them down. So that's, point one. Point two is that right now, Justices Kavanaugh and Roberts in their concurrence made clear that maybe, we're not going to go all the way there yet. Well, that means that we're one justice away if one of them were to leave the court or change their mind or whatever else from those questions coming up. So I think, there isn't any more clarity today than there was yesterday. And we're sort of entering the legal Wild West here on any number of questions and not just privacy.
You say the legal Wild West. I want to bring Jeff Snyder back into the conversation because Joan teed up this point that if it's okay to wipe out this precedent, what about other precedents? And Jess, in the writings on this and the consents and concurring opinions, Clarence Thomas gets very plain, speaks very plain language about this, right?
Yeah, and what's interesting, John, is this opinion is 5-4, but we're essentially seeing a three-way split here as to how this Roe opinion could affect other rights that many Americans in this country take for granted, like the right to conception or the right to same-sex marriage, which was established by this court. So what we saw from Justice Alito is him assuring the public that this does not go beyond Roe. This is what Alito wrote. To ensure that our decision is not misunderstood or mischaracterized, we emphasize that our decision concerns the constitutional right to abortion and no other right. Nothing in this opinion should be understood to cast doubt in precedents that do not concern abortion. And Justice Brett Kavanaugh also reiterated that in his concurrence. However, you noted that Justice Clarence Thomas actually was quite blunt about what he wants. And here's the quote from him. In future cases, we should reconsider all of this court's substantive due process precedents, including Griswold, Lawrence, and Obergefell. Griswold, contraception, Lawrence saying that the state cannot criminally punish sodomy, and Obergefell, the right to same-sex marriage. So, John, we're seeing this conflict between the conservatives, Justice Thomas wanting to go much farther than maybe some of the others.
So, Steve Vladeck, if I wanted to challenge same-sex marriage, if I want to challenge the right to contraception, I'm either in court today or tomorrow, right? Thinking this court might give me, in a year or two, I'm before the Supreme Court?
So, John, obviously there's one step before that, which is we would need to see states, presumably red states, adopting laws that go after these precedents. But that's not a hypothetical. We know there are legislators in Mississippi and Idaho, for example, who want to introduce legislation to restrict abortion. And, John, Jessica read the line from Alito's opinion about how this is limited to abortion. Well, I think the dissent also has a pretty good response on this, which is that the analysis is not limited to abortion. The notion that the Constitution doesn't protect rights unless they're deeply rooted in our traditions, that's not limited to abortion. So what the joint dissent said, I think this is an important quote, either the mass of the majority's opinion is hypocrisy or additional constitutional rights are under threat. It's one or the other. And John, it's not hard to imagine red states moving quickly to try to push the envelope on these other rights. We're already seeing it.
We're already seeing it. And Joan, to a point you made earlier and just mentioned, I want to read a little bit from Chief Justice Roberts, who says, and this is tradition for him, I would take a more measured course. That has been the trademark of John Roberts. He's just now outvoted because of these 3 Trump appointments. But I would take a more measured course. I agree with the court that the viability line established by Roe and Casey should be discarded under a straightforward stare decisis analysis. None of this, however, requires that we also take the dramatic step altogether of eliminating the abortion right first recognized in Roe. So we're going to have a conversation throughout the program later about the politics of this. But is it fair to say that more than anybody else, this is Mitch McConnell's day? Because if Merrick Garland was on the Supreme Court, if Mitch McConnell had not blocked the Obama nomination of Merrick Garland, you would not have 6-3. You would Roberts may have said Mississippi law is okay with me, 15 weeks, but not wiping out Roe v. Wade.
Mitch McConnell blocked Merrick Garland, and he sped up Amy Coney Barrett. That is what's so consequential here. And Chief Justice John Roberts, who for so long has been at the height of his power, controlling things, he just doesn't have it. And the 5 justices on the far left who controlled this, 3 of them are in their 50s. These are the people who will be controlling your Supreme Court. John Roberts, in that concurrence, he concurred because he wanted the Mississippi law to be upheld, but he didn't want Roe to be overturned, used that word measured. And he is so concerned about this court lurching to the right. The court informally bears his name, but this is a whole new court, and it really is not the John Roberts court, precisely for that reason. And Clarence Thomas, I just want to reinforce what Jess and Steve were getting at. Clarence Thomas had like this battle cry of, yes, go after those other rights. They are not deeply rooted. The right to contraception is not deeply rooted. They should be challenged.
It's just, and to be clear, this is not just about 3 justices on the Supreme Court. The final 2 years of President Obama's term, no or almost no appellate judges were confirmed. Very few trial court judges. It was a systematic push by Mitch McConnell and President Trump that they did quite successfully at shifting all the federal courts in the country to the right. So it's not, so yes, there were 3 very consequential Supreme Court justices and frankly, a very consequential presidency, but the focus on the courts, this, like you said, John, this is Mitch McConnell's day, and the legal questions now, like in vitro fertilization and any other number of ones, are open.
If you're thinking about buying solar panels, don't.
Hey, I'm gonna close out, Perf. Like I was saying, man, this shit about to get real, man. People tired in America about to show you who they truly is. Most of America is conservative, bro. Most of Americans work hard. They go to work every day. They pay their bills. They struggle to make something happen. They struggle to put their kids through college and shit. They not with all this dumb shit, bro. The reason that this dumb shit has been allowed to flourish is because people were still living good. Now that they done got a dumbass motherfucker, I ain't gonna say dumb, I ain't gonna call the man dumb, but he the president of the United States. But now that they got a real liberal motherfucker in there that's got this, like I said, gas about to be $8 in California, this shit $5 where I'm from. Motherfucking the food done went up. You know what I'm saying? Everything that shot up 20-30%. They not trying to raise. Listen, America not going for that. They about to show you that they a republic for real. You feel me? And I'm out with that one.
Thanks, bro. Salute. Ladies and gentlemen, what a live podcast. I had to reschedule. I didn't miss the appointments. My wife gonna be upset at me. Roe versus Wade got overturned, so we did an impromptu live stream. I just finished the live stream about Johnny Depp. Make sure you go watch that. I was on the Roger Report live this morning. Shout out to KP from KC5. That's a good brother from the Roger Report live. Hashtag Cool Table. Make sure you subscribe. Check me out in the mornings on the Roger Report, and make sure you subscribe to the Roger Report, the Roger Report live. My name is Perfect. You're now watching me on the Perfect Timing Podcast. Make sure you subscribe, hit the subscribe and the notification bell. I'm simulcasting live right now on 3 separate channels at the same time. I'm live on Perfect Timing Podcast. You're watching me on that channel right now. I'm also live on Perfect Timing Podcast Live. That's my backup YouTube channel. I use StreamYard to simulcast simultaneously live on 3 locations at the same time. So I'm live on 2. If you're searching for me, you're going to see probably 2 YouTube channels premiering my show. And Perfect Timing Podcast is the main channel. That's where you're going to see most people. Please tune in and subscribe. Perfect Timing Podcast Live is the backup channel. Subscribe to that to get other content. I'm also live on Facebook under Patrick Potter. Thank you to all of my Facebook subscribers and everybody who's watching on Facebook and giving me thumbs up on Facebook. It means a lot. Today we discussed the overturning of Roe versus Wade. We showed Kamala Harris. We showed Joe Biden. We showed the mayor of New York City. We just showed Clarence Thomas' opinion, Justice Roberts' opinion. We talked to you about being prepared about politics in your city, being prepared for the upcoming election, because as you hear in our discussion, if you go back and listen to the podcast, we believe it's all a distraction to distract you from this upcoming election. And again, remember what the Democrats are asking you. The Democrats are asking you to make big government. The Democrats are asking you to make big government. The Democrats want you to make a bigger government. They want to expand the Supreme Court, and they want to make more laws. They want to expand the Supreme Court, add more Supreme Court justices to make more law. The Democrats allowed this to happen. This happened under the Democrat president and the Democratic majority. You guys realize it's a Democratic president and a Democratic majority, and this happened? Something that you revere so highly happened under a Democratic president and a Democratic majority, and now the Democrats are telling you in order to fix it, we need a bigger government. Hello? Anybody want to know why this is happening? I'm telling you right now. To fix it, we need a bigger government. You need more Supreme Court justices. We need more laws. When I was growing up and I took government and politics and civics, you always wanted a smaller government. But when Eisenhower gave the speech on the military-industrial complex and how the government was going to be growing to the point where you wouldn't be able to control it. And that's not what the republic was designed for. You want a smaller government. You want to empower the people, the individual, not the powers. And we're going the opposite of the design of America. We left monarchy. We left a European royal rule to establish America where the individual was in power. Not the corporation, not the state. Why do we need more Supreme Court justices? Why do we need more law? I was taught you want a smaller government. I agree with the decision. This is something, just like with gay marriage, we shouldn't be in anyone's bedroom. And this shouldn't be legal. And I agree with the decision is no one should be paying for it. Man, thank y'all for tapping in, man. Thank y'all for tapping in, man. I rescheduled my appointment. I rescheduled, everybody. Thank y'all for tapping in, man. I need to get something to eat, man. I ain't ate all day, man. I'm starving. Happy Friday, man. I'm gonna just get a snack because I want that. I'm gonna have a big dinner. KP said I thought Black Lives Matter. Facts. I'm gonna have that Cajun catfish dinner. Big Cajun catfish dinner. Big Cajun big fried fish on Friday. When my wife get home, we're gonna go get some fish and some shrimp and have a big fish fry. and relax. I pray for everybody in the chat. I pray a covering over everybody in the chat. I pray we could be anywhere right now. I pray safe passage. Some people driving, KP working right now. So I pray success in all your endeavors, safe passage on the highways and byways. May you be blessed. Thank you, God, for divinely inspiring today's message. You know, thank you to everybody out there. I want everybody to be blessed. Have a good weekend. You know what I'm saying? Get you some fish on Friday. You know what I'm saying? So happy Friday, everybody, man. Have a good day. I'll see y'all next week. Tracy, thank you for coming through. KP, thank you for coming through. Tracy, thank you for coming through. KP, thank you for coming through. Mrs. Perfect Timing, thank you for coming through. My little brother G, thank you for joining the panel. Major Key Boxing, man, with the intelligent commentary. When y'all be making these intelligent comments from the chat, it means so much. It helps the conversation. It helps the podcast. Thank you to Major. That's why he got that blue wrench. Thank you to Major Key for coming through and supporting a new brother, supporting Stack or Star. Thank you for coming through and supporting, brother. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell so it do you well. You know how YouTube don't never want to tell. Shout out to Toya the Tutor. Oh, look at that. Look at that thumbnail. Toya don't never disappoint, man. Shout out to Toya the Tutor. Thank you for coming through supporting. Shout out to Z Ham. Somebody new. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell. You know what I'm saying? There go little bro right there. Oh, no, that's GT Entertainment. I always get them mixed up. Shout out to GT Entertainment for coming through and supporting. You know what I'm saying? That's little bro right there. That's little bro right there. Shout out to little bro. Thank you for coming through and supporting Sly. Who else we got in the building? Who else we got? Did I miss anybody? Oh, I'm listening. That's my brother right there, man. Hey, I'm listening, man. Thank you so much for supporting always. Jeffrey, man, thank you for coming through. Shout out to the Roger Report. Everybody that joined from the Cool Table, man. Hashtag Cool Table. Thank you, everybody that supported from the Cool Table, man. Thank you to Roger, man, for sharing the show, supporting the movement. Happy Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. All right, we're going to get out of here, man.